Now the Mystery Theater.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome to the world of terrifying imagination. In 1843, a Dr. James Braid of Manchester developed the art of being able to produce trance sleep. Of course, he was not the first. That honor belonged to Friedrich Anton Mesmer. But Dr. Braid did coin the name of this both beneficial yet potentially disastrous parascience, hypnotism. In the skilled hands of a doctor or a psychiatrist, it can be profoundly beneficial. But in the hands of an amateur or someone unscrupulous, it can be murderously dangerous.
That's it, Marge. Just keep your eyes on the coin as it goes back and forth, back and forth. You're getting sleepy, so sleepy. Your eyelids are heavy. You can't hold them up. You've got to sleep, sleep, sleep. She's under, Mark.
You're putting me on, Jeff. She's fake.
No, she's under, all right. She's a hypnotist's dream. Very suggestible. Look, I'll prove it to you. What's this?
Hey, don't hold it there.
Just long enough to show she doesn't react.
You could have burned her.
Oh, come on. You think I'd do anything to hurt your sister?
Well, now that you've got her under, what are you going to do?
What would you like her to do?
Jeff asked me, what would you like her to do? Well, I would have liked her to murder my father. I wondered how Jeff would have reacted if I'd said that out loud. It almost came out anyway, since it's all I think of these days. How to murder, destroy, wipe out my father. Our mystery drama, Murder with Malice, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars Marcia Rod and Ira Lewis. It is sponsored in part by new sugar-free diet 7-Up and Buick Motor Division. I'll be back shortly with Act 1.
When you feel like having a cold Budweiser, do you automatically reach for a glass? Well, sure, Bud's a great beer any way you drink it. But without a glass, you're really missing something. Now, take that wonderful Budweiser head of foam, for instance. Those bubbles, tiny though they are, still amount to something pretty special at the top of your glass. Taste appeal and eye appeal. Two results of exclusive beechwood aging and natural carbonation. It takes a lot longer to brew Budweiser that way, but brewing beer right does make a difference that you can taste. That's why, when you say Budweiser, you've really said it all. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
North Jersey is certainly getting a higher yield this season, especially with Suburban Savings Special High Yield Savings Certificate that you can raise for fun and profit. All you have to do is plant a modest $2,500 minimum in Suburban's limited issue 7.50% savings certificate. Then put your certificate in a nice, safe place. Suburban takes care of the rest by compounding interest continuously from day of deposit paid quarterly. You'll get a nice, healthy 7.90% effective annual yield on your 7.50% savings certificate when you let it grow from 4 to 10 years. Early withdrawal prior to maturity is, of course, subject to a substantial penalty. So for a nice, healthy 7.90% annual effective yield, grow Suburban's 7.50% savings certificate for fun and profit at any Suburban savings office in northern New Jersey.
in Principles of Mental Physiology, Carpenter wrote, "The method of producing this state consists in the maintenance of a fixed gaze on a bright object placed somewhat above the line of sight. A light behind the subject shining on the bright object, a coin, a jewel, a small mirror, is very helpful, and a darkened room. Once the subject is in the trance, he or she is open to post-hypnotic suggestion. Luckily for our peace of mind and their father's health, Marge is the subject, and not the bloodthirsty Mark."
Ever since I can remember, I've hated my father and feared him. But never more so than these last 2 years, since he killed my mother. I'd like to kill him, but I haven't the guts.
Well, what, Mark?
Huh? Well, what do you mean, what?
What do you want me to ask Marge to do? Don't tell me I put you into a trance, too.
No, Look, what sort of thing can I ask?
Anything within reason. I mean, she won't do anything to hurt herself, or to hurt someone else, or steal, or anything that goes against her natural instincts. Let's keep it simple.
You know what you ought to ask her to do?
What?
Marry you. She's got a chance to shake this scene and have some kind of decent life of her own and get away from that monster upstairs, and she won't take it.
She loves her father.
That murdering...
Hey, come on, take it easy,
Well,
Mark.
he killed my mother.
It was a car accident.
He was going 90, and he was drunk when they crashed.
It's a miracle anyone came out of it alive.
It's a pity it had to be him. He got off lucky.
Lucky? A shattered pelvis? Condemned to drag himself around on canes for the rest of his life?
I hope he never knows a moment when he's not in pain.
Hey, Mark. Come on, let's knock it off. I want to bring Marge out of the trance.
Well, wait a minute. We've got a bet going here. You claimed you could prove post-hypnotic suggestion, didn't you?
Yeah?
Well, suppose you... That grandfather clock drives me crazy. Old man's pride and joy hasn't missed a chime since the day he was born. Did it wake Marge?
No. She'll stay under till I bring her out of it. What were you going to say before?
Well, suppose you were to tell Marge to hit up the old man for $5,000 tomorrow at breakfast. Would she do it?
Well, she might if she thought it was justified.
Well, tell her I need it to pay off some debts.
Do you?
What's the difference? She won't get it.
No, Mark, I'm sorry. No go. Now, if you want Marge to try to get money for you, you ask her directly, when she's fully conscious.
Like I figured, the two of you are just putting me on.
Oh, no. No, I'll prove that to you. Marge?
Yes?
I want you to do something for me tomorrow morning.
All right.
What time's breakfast?
9 on the dot. Another of the old man's fetishes.
Okay. Now, Marge, I want you to come down and be at the breakfast table at 2 minutes to 9 tomorrow morning. Then, when the clock strikes 9, on the last chime, no matter what's going on, you will say, "Hickory-dickory-dock. The mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 9, and I feel fine. Hickory-dickory-dock." And you won't remember you said it. Will you do that?
Yes?
I won't forget.
No?
Now, you've been having a nice rest. But it's time to wake up and feel refreshed and relaxed. You will wake up when I say now. Now.
I feel as if I... What are you staring at? The two of you. Jeff, did it work?
Mm-hmm.
You really put me under?
For about 10 minutes.
Oh, that's scary. You know, why, if you can make me draw a blank like that, you can make me do anything.
Oh, no, don't worry. I couldn't make you do anything you didn't really want to.
I should hope not. Where did you learn this handy little parlor trick?
Well, I once took some courses in parapsychology. Do you feel relaxed, Marge? Is your headache gone?
I have to admit I do. And no headache. I really feel as if I'd had a whole night's sleep. You're a master magician.
No, anyone can do what I did, provided he has the right subject, and that person is willing. Not that I'd advise it, though. It's a dangerous thing to fool around with.
But, you your friend uses it in his practice.
Dr. Frank? Oh, yeah. Occasionally, if it's indicated. Actually, he's relatively conservative for a psychiatrist.
I don't need him.
Well, honey, I'd like to see you get rid of those headaches.
I'm not a candidate for the couch yet.
Well, I guess I'll hit the sack. Thanks for the fun and games. Good night.
Night, little brother.
Good night, Mark. Little brother?
Didn't you ever know? I was the first twin to arrive. It's only one of Mark's resentments. He's the one who really needs analysis.
Marge, Mark's problems are his own. Yours are something I want to see solved.
I don't know why you waste your time with me. If I had any sense in this mixed-up noodle of mine, I'd marry you, have 4 children, and live happily ever after. But I just can't.
Because you feel yourself tied to your father.
I can't leave him alone, Jeff. I love him. I think, for your sake, Jeff, you'd better forget me.
Will you do me one favor first? Will you just go to see Dr. Frank for a few visits?
You think I'm that bad off?
Well, Marge, you've been pretty mixed up ever since the accident.
I know. Okay, Jeff. Maybe you're right. Let me think about it, and maybe I'll call your Dr. Frank tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
What is it, Jeff?
Nothing. It isn't important. It'd be more complicated to undo than to do now. I'll call you then and explain.
Morning, Mark.
Morning, Dad.
You're surprisingly early.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you something.
If it's money, no.
Dad, I'm in bad trouble.
Well, then dig yourself out.
Dad, Mom left me money that will come to me when I'm 30. Why can't I?
Very wise of her. Maybe in another 6 years you'll be able to handle it instead of gambling it away.
It wasn't Mom's decision. You talked her into it.
I most certainly did.
Look, you don't understand. I'm mixed up with some very hard guys. If I don't pay them off...
Oh, don't talk nonsense. They'll wait for that money. Good morning, Marjorie.
Good morning, Dad. Mark, am I late?
No, dear, it's just 2 minutes to 9. Sit down. Have your orange juice.
I'll pour the coffee first.
You sound very chipper.
Yes, I had a wonderful sleep last night. Relaxed as a kitten.
I wish I could say the same.
Well, that's what comes of having a guilty conscience.
And what about yours? I wanted to shout at him as I pushed my chair from the table violently and went to the sideboard. I was seething with hate at his smug self-righteousness. Guilty conscience. If he only knew how guilty, how much I wanted him. Serving breakfast plates for Marge and me gave me time to regain control. Then the clock began to strike 9, and my mood improved. A small revenge, but if Jeff's trick worked, at least I'd see the pompous old ass look foolish for once.
What time did Jeff Henderson leave last night?
I think I'm old enough not to have to answer questions like that.
Well, I think I have the right to ask any questions I want to in my house. Because I want to know if you're thinking again of marrying Jeff.
Hickory-dickory-dock. The mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 9 and I feel fine. Hickory-dickory-dock.
What? What did you just say, Marjorie?
Me? I didn't say anything.
I just asked you a perfectly reasonable question, and you replied with a silly nursery rhyme.
Nursery rhyme? Dad, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't...
She doesn't know. She said it.
Keep out of this, Mark.
It was post-hypnotic suggestion.
It was what?
Marge had one of her bad headaches, and Jeff thought he could cure it by hypnosis.
And he did. But what's this about...
Hypnosis? Marge, I must say I didn't think you'd be this foolish. I don't want Jeff Henderson in this house again.
Dad, I'm the one the trick was played on. Where's your sense of humor?
I haven't had any sense of humor since I lost your mother. No, don't help me. I don't need anyone. I can manage by myself. I don't expect it from my son, and I don't ask it from you, Marge.
Dad,
I'll let him go, Marge. He's only looking for sympathy.
Why do you have to be so hard on him, Mark?
Because I hate him. I always have.
Mark, he's our father. I love him.
Well, maybe we're not... What do they call us? Enzygotic twins, after all, huh? I mean, I guess we came from two different eggs because the only thing I want him to be is...
I think maybe we both need psychiatrists.
I'll get it, Williams. Yes?
Are you Mark Prentice?
Yes.
Well, open up, fella. Let me in. Oh, now, you don't want to see artillery, do you?
Benny?
Yeah. He sent me.
What do you want?
Oh, boy. Benny must be going soft. He lets you into him for 15 big ones.
Now, look. I'm going to pay him.
Oh, I know you're going to pay him. But when? Like, what's on account?
I haven't got anything right now, but Benny knows that I come into my own money when I'm 30.
You got 2 weeks, fella. 2. For whole account. Otherwise, a couple of broken legs, a little treatment around kidneys, you carry the rest of your life. And we'd still be waiting for the payment. You get the message?
I'm scared. And I've never been so scared in my life. And I'm caught. They mean business. And I'll never change my father's mind. I'm going to have to kill him. But how? How? Not exactly the all-American family, the Prentices. But then, where murder is contemplated, and where in fact it may be done, you don't expect to find very normal people. Especially where the murder is premeditated. I'll return shortly with Act 2.
Oh, somebody's been drinking my sugar-free Diet 7-Up, and it's all gone.
Oh, actually, I saved a little.
Oh, a bear!
Hiya, Goldie. What's brewing?
That's Miss Goldilocks to you.
Oh, come on, kid. You mean you don't remember me? The cottage, the 3 chairs, the porridge?
Baby bear!
In the fur. Been a long time, Goldie.
But Baby bear...
Just call me BB.
You drank all the sugar-free Diet 7-Up, and I have to conduct another diet drink taste test today.
Well, yeah, I saw the sign on the door. A professional taste tester, huh?
But how can I conduct my taste test now?
Why bother? I tried those other diet drinks, too. You'll notice there's still plenty of them around. Why not ask me?
Well, okay, BB. Tell me, why did you drink all the sugar-free Diet 7-Up?
I like the taste. Light, fresh, natural. Sugar-free Diet 7-Up is definitely unbearably delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mom, what's for dinner? Hey, Mom, what you got?
What's for dinner? Check ShopRite's low price on first-cut choice beef chuck steaks, just 57 cents a pound. Fresh ground beef chuck, any size package, 89 cents a pound. ShopRite hamburger rolls in packages of 8, just 3 for $1. Mohawk 5-pound canned ham will serve a crowd for just $4.99. Save on fresh red plums, 3 pounds for $1. Hotel bar butter, 79 cents a pound. For every meal you serve, you'll get a lot more for a little less at ShopRite.
She loves the family. She wants the best. She does all that she can do. She lets ShopRite do the rest. Hey, Ma, what's for dinner? ShopRite has the answer.
This is WOR New York, an RKO General Station, your station for Mystery Theater.
Almost 2 weeks have passed, and Mark has not been able to take any action towards solving his problems. Marge, at least under Jeff's urging, has had several sessions with Dr. Frank, and Harvey Prentice has continued to be himself, domineering, selfish, callous to any problems but his own.
Mark?
Yeah, Dad. What is it?
What the devil is Marjorie?
I think she's with a psychiatrist.
What does she need with a psychiatrist?
You'll have to ask her that.
Oh, not again. I trust she's not going to be late for dinner this time.
Search me.
Well, when she comes in, I'm in the study. Oh, by the way, I see you appear to be all in one piece. No bruises, no damage. Did you pay off your debts?
No.
Well, I told you nothing would happen.
I've got 2 days left to come up with the money. Look, Dad.
No. Not from me.
Do you know that I'm scared to go out of the house?
Has it ever occurred to you that you should and get a job? That's the way to pay your debts off.
I couldn't pay my debts off with any job I can get.
Perhaps you should have thought of that before you ran them up.
Oh, it's easy to hate my father. And even the fact of murdering him would not be all that hard. It's just how to do it without being found out. It never occurred to me that my sister might provide the answer.
Marge,
Jeff, what are you doing here?
I knew you had an appointment with Dr. Frank. I have the car, so I thought I'd wait and drive you home.
I don't feel like talking, Jeff.
Marge, I haven't seen you in almost 2 weeks. You won't even answer my phone calls. Are you mad at me?
Not exactly.
Is it that silly stunt I pulled with that post-hypnotic suggestion?
No.
Well, it's ever since that evening.
I know. All right. Let's get in the car and you can drive me home.
Sure.
I'm so mixed up, Jeff. I wish you'd never suggested Dr. Frank.
Oh, now, wait a minute. He's a good guy.
Not for my money, he isn't. I know you meant well, but...
But what?
Jeff, well, I'm not good for you. Mark and I are all screwed up somehow. The whole family, we're Jonahs. Keep away from us.
Marge, nothing you can say.
Why won't you listen to me? I don't want to see you anymore. I can't. There's nothing to explain, and I have such a headache.
Well, maybe I ought to stay and give you another hypnotic treatment.
No. Nobody else is getting inside my head anymore but me. Please, let's just make this goodbye. I don't want to see you again.
Marge, wait a minute.
Hey, Marge. What goes?
It's nothing. Just leave me alone.
Okay. Play it your way.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark. I didn't mean to snap. It's just the top of my head's blowing off. I'm not going near that psychiatrist again.
Oh, what's the panic?
The things he keeps saying. I think he's the crazy one.
How come?
Well, I'm not going to go through all the double talk about the id and the superego and the ego, but what he finally got around to saying was that I was jealous of Mother. And because Dad put her first, I hated him and wanted him...
Well, he's got the wrong twin.
How could he say such a thing to me when I literally gave up Jeff to take care of Dad?
Search me.
I mean, honestly, I thought an Oedipus complex was strictly from the ancient Greeks and for doctors talking to each other. Can you imagine me supposed to hate my father?
How could you hate Dad when you dropped everything to take care of him ever since Mom died?
See, that's because I'm supposed to have a fixation. And it's only guilt that holds me back from destroying him.
What?
He says that deep down in my subconscious or whatever, I really want to commit murder.
You sure you know what you're saying?
I know what Dr. Frank said. That I'll never get rid of my headaches till I get rid of my guilt feelings. And to get rid of those, I'll have to kill him. That's right.
Well, there's a quicker way to get rid of headaches than that.
How?
Well, get old Jeff back to hypnotize you again.
No. Jeff and I are through. I told him that tonight.
Well, if you really want to get rid of the headache, well, I could have a shot at the hypnosis route. Jeff said anyone could do it.
No, thanks. I'm taking my headache to bed. I won't be down for dinner.
Of course, I didn't have the idea right then. Some instinct was nudging me, that somewhere, somehow, there was a way out for me. But before I could follow the thought through, the phone rang. Yeah, hello?
Hello, Mark.
Look, I'm working on it. I think I've got a way to...
Danny says you got till day after tomorrow. And then you have time.
Well, maybe I could raise,
You better raise it off, though. Because that's when Uncle Benny's calling it in. Or the deep six.
Hey, mister.
Who's on the phone, Mark?
Someone for me, Dad.
Did I hear your sister come in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a few minutes ago.
Well, did you tell her I wanted to see her in the study?
No,
But face me when I talk. Why not?
because she didn't want to see you. She wasn't feeling well. She went up to bed.
Before dinner?
She said she didn't feel like eating. And neither do I.
What's the matter with you?
I'm scared, Dad. That's what's the matter. I'm scared so bad I'm sick.
Why?
That was some hard guy on the phone. Benny's man.
Who's Benny?
The man I owe money to. Look, you've got to let me have it.
No.
You don't understand. If I don't come up with it the day after tomorrow, they could kill me.
Don't be ridiculous.
All I'm asking is to give me my part of the money that Mom left. Marge got hers.
Marjorie could be trusted. You cannot.
Please.
I'm not your mother, Mark. You haven't got her around to bail you out anymore the way she used to. This time it's your problem and no one else's. The only way you'll ever get any money out of me beyond living expenses is over my body.
The only way I ever wanted it from him. Over his body. And suddenly, at last, I could see the way to do it. Dinner was eaten in stony silence. Just the two of us. After it, my father went back to the study for coffee and brandy. I sneaked upstairs to my father's bedroom, which had been my mother's, too, and searched quickly through her drawers to find what I wanted. The rest was waiting till my father was safely in bed for the night, and then moving quietly along the upstairs corridor to my sister's room.
Who is it?
Mark. May I come in?
I suppose so.
I knew you were up. I saw the light under the door.
Dad came by to say goodnight an hour or so ago. I couldn't get back to sleep. What time is it?
The witching hour. Midnight. Mind if I sit on the other bed for a moment?
It's all right. My bed light in your eyes?
No. It's just fine. How's the headache?
Splitting.
I wish I had some magic remedy.
I just like to go to sleep tonight and never wake up again.
No, you don't mean that.
I do tonight. What's that swinging in your hand?
That's a memento from better days. Remember, it's Mom's tic-tac watch.
Oh, I haven't seen that in years. It's still so shiny. Where'd you get it?
Oh, I've had it a while. Remember how when we were kids she used to put us to sleep with it?
The tick-tock watch. Tick-tock, tick-tock, back and forth.
My eyes used to get glued to it. Tick-tock, tick-tock, back and forth, till I began to get so sleepy. So sleepy.
So sleepy.
Sleep, Marge. Sleep. Keep your eyes on the watch. Yeah, your eyelids are getting heavy. Heavy. So heavy. You've got to sleep. 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 Marge. Marge. I can't believe it. can't feel the flame. Marge, you're asleep. But you can hear me.
Yes, I hear you.
Who am I?
You're Mark.
Am I your brother?
Yes,
Your twin?
yes,
Do you know our father?
yes.
How do I feel about him?
You hate him.
How do you feel about him? Marge, I asked you. How do you feel about him?
I hate him too.
Would you like to kill him?
Yes. I've always wanted to. I want to kill him.
I could hardly believe my luck. And just in time to save my neck. The perfect weapon for the perfect murder. My sister. But did I dare to use it? To hurt her instead of being hurt myself? What would they do to her? What would happen to her if I did what I was planning? And would it even work? What were the odds on the biggest gamble I would ever take in my life?
A girl helpless under an hypnotic spell, at the mercy of the agent who wove that spell, her twin brother, himself at the mercy of passions beyond his control, eaten up with hate, tortured by fear, hesitating to make an unconscionable gamble with her life to save his own. I'll return shortly with Act 3.
I'd like to describe a car to you. See what you think of it. First of all, it's small. Second, it's got a 6-cylinder engine, a pretty handy asset these days. Third, it's a Buick. Now, in spite of the fact that it's small, this car can seat 6 easily. It's got a 21-gallon fuel tank, which gives it great range. And it weighs several hundred pounds more than most imports, which in a small car is good. Now, what does it look like? Well, that's pretty tough to handle on radio. I'd hesitate to call it glamorous, and it sure isn't homely. I think handsome would be fair, and it offers some pretty attractive styling and trim options. The interior is definitely its strong suit. Now, if that sounds like a little more than your average small car, then I've described it properly. Because remember, this small car is a Buick. The car is called Apollo, Buick Apollo, and it's about as much small car as you'll find on the road today. See for yourself at your Buick Opel dealer.
One of the 10 best newspapers in America. Easily the nation's best suburban newspaper. Becoming a paper of national influence. These words are from a recent issue of Time magazine. The newspaper described is Newsday, the Long Island newspaper. On the basis of editorial excellence, Time magazine selected the 10 newspapers in America that stand out above the rest. One of them was Newsday. Because, as Time noted, Newsday combines solid local coverage with ambitious national and international undertakings. And because Newsday meets Time's other criteria for excellence, it's entertaining and informative. It conducts extended investigations and offers a range of different opinions in its editorial pages. Have Newsday delivered right to your door with no service charge, and see why it's one of the 10 best papers in America. Newsday, Long Island's own newspaper.
Marge lies still, her eyes wide open, but unseeing. Alongside, her brother Mark sits, his mother's watch still swinging its pendulum arc in his hand, unnoticed as he wrestles with the conscience which holds him back from this ultimate gamble. The gamble? Can anyone under hypnotic influence be induced to commit murder?
If she killed, they'd never do anything to her. There's a whole history. The encephalitis she had as a kid, the nervous breakdown after Mom died. She's going to a psychiatrist now. Sure, I can get her off. Temporary insanity.
Yeah, that's it. Only it would work. What was it Jeff said?
She won't do anything to hurt herself, or to hurt someone else, or steal, or do anything that goes against her natural instincts.
Natural instincts. What does that mean? Doesn't it mean what we really feel deep inside, even if we don't know about it? It's a gamble, but the odds aren't bad. It's Mark, Marge. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Remember a couple of weeks ago when Jeff was here and we got off on the hypnosis kick?
Yes, I remember.
And what started it?
I don't know. I think, yes, talking about being kids.
Remember how even then Jeff was into the psychic bit?
Yes. The funny cards and guessing and trying to reach each other's minds.
And who was the best?
We were.
Why?
Because we're twins. Twins go together.
Remember how we always liked the same things?
Mocha ice cream and rare hamburger, buttermilk, crazy things nobody else liked.
We liked. Just like we hated.
What did we hate?
You know. Coffee, half and half, and hot dogs without relish, and people who lie or cheat or murder.
Murder?
Like Dad. He killed Mother, didn't he?
There was an accident.
He was too drunk to drive the car. Didn't you hate him after the accident?
I don't know.
Don't you hate him now?
Yes, I hate him.
Would you like to see him?
Would I?
I would. And we're twins, remember?
Yes, twins.
We always think alike, right?
We always think alike.
I want to kill him. Don't you?
I want to kill him.
Then listen. Tomorrow night he'll go to bed early. He'll be fast asleep by 10 o'clock, you understand?
Fast asleep by 10 o'clock.
I can promise you that. I won't be here. But when the grandfather clock strikes 10, you're going to go to the dining room, right?
When it strikes 10, I go to the dining room.
In the sideboard drawer. You know which one. His dad's carving knife. The one he keeps honed to a razor's edge with the sharp point, remember?
I remember. The carving knife.
Right. And then go to his bedroom and plunge it into his chest. Listen to me, Marge. You'll be doing what you always wanted to do. You'll never have headaches anymore because the guilt will be gone. You'll be destroying him just as you've always wanted to do. Killing what you hate, what I hate. Killing all the hate in our hearts. You understand?
When the clock strikes 10 tomorrow night, I am to get the carving knife and take it upstairs and plunge it into Dad until he is...
And when you wake up in the morning, you won't remember any of this. I didn't sleep much that night, and next day was an endless nightmare. By the time dinner was over, I was a wreck. But the real strain was just beginning. No, it was no sweat to slip the barbiturate in Dad's coffee, and later to help him up to bed, half comatose, and get him settled snoring for the night. It was after the clock chimed 8:30 that I finally left the house to establish my own alibi. Stopping carefully, I might add, on the way out, to make sure the clock was wound, although my father was usually infallible in seeing that it never ran down. And then I left the house.
Hey, Mark. Sorry I'm a little late.
Oh, just glad you're here. Have you eaten?
Yeah. You?
Oh, long time ago. I ordered some setups. Scotch okay with you?
One drink.
Just thought we might have a talk together. What time is it?
Around 5 or so to 9. Well, what do you want to talk about?
Marge.
Well, now, that's my favorite subject. You aren't the bearer of good news by any chance?
Good news?
Well, that she's changed her mind about me and I might have some kind of a chance with her?
Oh, that's something we might discuss, Jeff. Let's have another drink first. Where was I?
Don't you think you should go a little easy on the drinking, Mark?
Hey, if I want to get drunk, I'll get drunk.
Not with me, Buster.
All right, okay, so I'm sober. Where was I?
Well, you were trying to explain something about your sister, which is the only reason you're holding me.
Oh yeah, Marge, yeah. You know, you don't stand a chance as long as Dad's around.
Yeah, I'm aware of that problem.
Well, supposing it suddenly didn't exist anymore, supposing there wasn't my father.
If that's your only question for the evening, maybe we ought to order another drink. Mark.
Huh?
Come on.
What?
Come on, I paid up. Let's get out of here.
No, I can't. What time is it?
It's after 10 o'clock.
How much?
It's 5-10 minutes after 10.
That's not long enough. I got to stay here a while.
Okay, suit yourself. I'm going home.
Hey, we haven't finished talking.
As far as I'm concerned, we have.
I want to tell you about Marge.
Look, whatever you had to tell me about Marge, if you ever had, it's too late for you to make any sense tonight. Either you come with me now and I'll drop you home, or stay. Get as stoned as you want.
I gotta stay. Just a little longer. Doesn't matter anymore. My hands, my feet, everything seemed like lead from the moment 10 o'clock had passed. Before I'd been fired up, nervously tensed, hard put to act normal. Now the drinks meant nothing. I wanted to call it all back. I stumbled to my feet. I rushed out of the bar. In the cab back to the house, I had all sorts of fantasies. Sometimes when the clock got overwound, it would stop. If it hadn't struck 10, maybe my father was still alive. And the other fear, how did I expect my amateur hypnosis would work? In the house, empty. I was conscious of the echo of its sighs for the first time. Through the hall, up the big staircase, down the hall to my father's room. Everything seemed to echo. Carefully, I opened the door to my father's room and listened. No sound. I went in. I looked at my father where he lay, lit by a lamp on the far wall over the dressing table. The first thing I was conscious of was that he was breathing. And I saw the carving knife on the floor. It was instinctive to pick it up. It was bright silver and stainless steel, glittering in the corner lamp. There was no trace of blood. He wasn't, and I knew I would have to do this by myself. By myself. There never had been any other way. So I came to the bed, lifting the knife up high to drive it home. And suddenly his eyes were open, looking at me, recognizing what was about to happen. In one convulsive shrug towards me, his eyes glazed over. But in that last moment, he said,
"You always wanted me so. Strike. Strike. For all the good it will do you."
So he's as you wanted him to be.
I don't have to listen to you.
Oh, yes, you'd better listen to me. What you tried to do to your sister is beyond belief.
She hated my father as much as I did.
Your thumbnail psychology is about as successful as what you know about hypnotism. Oh, you put Marge to the acid test, and your hypnotic suggestion worked just as you planned it, up till the last moment.
How do you know?
Because your sister ran to me for help. At the last moment, she couldn't force herself to turn against love. Not for this one man, or me, or you, but just the fact that she was human and normal, and hate was no part of her, but love was.
So she dropped the knife and ran to you.
Well, you dropped it too, didn't you? When it came to the test, you could no more strike than Marge. Could you?
I'll never know. He died before I had the chance. A massive stroke had caused my father's death before I had a chance to kill him. But if I wasn't guilty in fact, I certainly was in intention. And to achieve his death, I would have tried anything within my power. I was lucky to get off scot-free, I thought.
And I directed my entire estate be left to my beloved daughter Marjorie, subject to all the provisions to protect it and her from my son Mark, to whom, with all my heart, I leave nothing, not 1 cent. As attorney for the estate, Mark, I'm going to make sure your father gets his wish.
Oh, sure, big deal. You figure to marry the heiress.
I figure to protect Marge from you as long as I live. If I thought I could wring your neck by myself and get away with it, I'd be happy to do it. Luckily, I don't have to worry. No dough, brother. Not a penny. Go pay your debts.
Can one be hypnotized and led to kill? Certainly not from tonight's story, and highly doubtful, if not impossible, no matter who the subject might be. But just in case, I hope we have all learned that it is nothing to meddle with for the uninformed. Like all special areas in life, it should be used by the expert, only in cases of special need. It was some time before Marge and Jeff were married, but once they were, the shadows and cobwebs were wiped away. Mark was only a dark memory that would disintegrate in time as thoroughly as his corporal self, trapped in his cement boots in the shifting muck of the river bottom where he lies. Who sows the wind must reap the whirlwind. Our cast included Marcia Rodd, Nick Pryor, Ira Lewis, and Stotts Cotsworth. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. Radio Mystery Theater was sponsored in part by Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, Brewers of Budweiser. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
The preceding Mystery Theater program was furnished by the CBS Radio Network.
I'm Fulton Lewis in the Mutual Broadcasting System studios in Washington, D.C. Now, my commentary. U.S. District Court Judge John Sirica today delayed proceedings on a White House motion to quash a special prosecutor's subpoena for more presidential tapes, in the judge's words, for the purpose of facilitating discussions leading to a possible compliance. Judge Sirica's brief announcement came after Special White House Counsel James St. Clair entered the judge's chambers, saying that he would ask for a delay in hopes of working out such a compromise. The judge postponed until Friday of this week the deadline for the special prosecutor's office to answer a motion from White House lawyer James St. Clair to quash a subpoena for 64 presidential conversations. St. Clair, you recall, went into court last week with a motion to stop the subpoena, and Judge Sirica originally had set today as the deadline for the prosecutor's response. The judge also delayed a hearing on St. Clair's motion, originally scheduled for Wednesday, until a week from today, next Monday. Before entering a conference with the other lawyers and Judge Sirica, Attorney St. Clair said that he had asked for a 5-day delay to permit the special prosecutor and myself to see whether we can come to some accommodation. In filing his motion last week to quash the subpoena, St. Clair had indicated that the dispute over release of the tapes to the prosecutor might be carried all the way to the Supreme Court. In that filing, there was a formal claim of privilege signed personally by President Nixon, declaring that the conversations that were being sought are confidential conversations, quote, between a president and his close advisors, and it would be inconsistent with the public interest to produce those tapes. About 20 of the conversations in question, the conversations that have been demanded by Leon Jaworski, the special prosecutor, were among the talks for which the White House released transcripts last week. For those, the president said no claim of privilege was asserted. The Jaworski subpoenas were for conversations that started on June 20th of 1972. They span a period of time that finally ended on June 4th of 1973. The earliest date is just 3 days after the famous Watergate break-in at the Democratic Party national headquarters. That was June 17th of 1972. The June 4th date is the day on which President Nixon listened to some of the Watergate tape recordings. The counsel of the president, J. Fred Buzzhart, testified before one of the Watergate grand juries today, but he refused to tell what that questioning was all about. He appeared before Watergate grand jury number 3, which is investigating, among other things, the 18-and-a-half-minute gap in one of the key White House tapes. In his White House role, Attorney Buzzhart had overall custody of the tapes at one point last year, and he testified extensively during a court hearing into the causes of the now famous 18-and-a-half-minute gap and about 2 other tape recordings that the White House said never existed. There have been some reports in recent weeks that Buzzhart still had a major say in just what recordings the president would yield to the special Watergate prosecutor and to the House Judiciary Committee, even though James St. Clair, of course, is now said to handle all Watergate legal matters for the president. The White House indicated today that the president's Watergate counsel, St. Clair, may not fight against the granting of immunity for administration witnesses that are called before the House Judiciary Committee. Press Secretary Ronald Ziegler told reporters at a briefing that St. Clair told him earlier today that there appeared to be no problem in granting of immunity. Ziegler added that the White House does not have a fixed position on that subject. He noted that it would be up to the committee to determine the question of immunity for witnesses who could tell what they know about Watergate-related matters. Michigan Republican Representative Edward Hutchinson, the ranking minority member of the Judiciary Panel, has already been quoted as saying that he would oppose granting immunity to any witnesses who testified before his committee during its impeachment inquiry. Asked if there has been any effect on the White House staff since the president released the transcripts of a number of White House conversations last week, Ziegler today replied, "Over the past month, there has been a hesitancy to make extensive notes or to put anything down on paper." Ziegler said the problem had not yet reached serious proportions, but he said it might if there were a breakdown in the principle of executive privilege. The president issued the transcripts in response to the Judiciary Committee's formal subpoena for the tapes of 42 presidential conversations. Herbert Kalmbach has testified of a midnight meeting at which he said a top dairy cooperative official was told that milk prices would be increased and that the White House wanted confirmation of a $2 million campaign pledge. Kalmbach, of course, is a former campaign fundraiser for President Nixon. He has said in secret testimony that the session took place on March 24th, 1971, in his suite at the Madison Hotel here in Washington. Milk price supports were increased just the following day. The White House has said that the president's milk price order was not in any way influenced by the promise of campaign contributions from the dairy cooperative. The alleged meeting, which took place after a Republican fundraising dinner attended by dozens of dairy cooperative officials, included Kalmbach, Marie Chotiner, and Harold Nelson, or at least so goes the Kalmbach testimony. Chotiner had quit 3 weeks earlier as the president's special counsel and had just entered private law practice where he was receiving a retainer of $57,000 a year paid by the nation's largest dairy cooperative, the Associated Milk Producers Incorporated. Nelson was the chief executive officer of that cooperative. According to the testimony, Kalmbach swore that Chotiner told Nelson that John Ehrlichman, who was the president's chief domestic advisor at that time, wanted Nelson to reaffirm the milk producers' promise of $2 million in light of an milk price increase that the president had just directed. Kalmbach said that Nelson agreed. The next day, the administration made its public announcement of the price increase of 27 cents per hundredweight, which added hundreds of millions of dollars to the income of dairy farmers around the nation. Colbeck's testimony was given about 6 weeks ago to 2 investigators for the Senate Watergate Committee, Alan Weitz and David Dorson. They said that this testimony, along with other unspecified evidence, provides the basis for a letter which lawyers for the House Judiciary Committee sent to the White House back on April 19th. That letter, intended to state facts showing the impeachment investigators' need for 45 presidential tape recordings about the milk fund affair, was made public just last Friday. It said, among other things, that on March 24th, 1971, quote, Mr. Murray Chotiner stated to several dairymen that Mr. Ehrlichman expected the dairy industry to reaffirm its $2 million commitment in light of a forthcoming increase in milk price supports. The White House has rebutted by saying that the president was aware of the dairymen's $2 million promise because his aide, Charles Colson, had told him about it back in 1970. Colson has been identified as the main contact in the White House for Nelson, and indeed for other dairy cooperative officials. The White House, though, has vigorously denied that the president's decision to raise prices was in any way influenced by that promise of money. He was influenced, the White House has declared, by traditional political considerations, including pressure from Democrats on Capitol Hill, Democrats who themselves wanted a price increase. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and Soviet Foreign Minister Andrei Gromyko have arranged to meet tomorrow on the island of Cyprus, the purpose to discuss their search for an end to the Middle East war insofar as the current hostilities on the Israeli-Syrian front are concerned. Plans for that meeting were announced in Moscow and by a State Department spokesman traveling with Kissinger. Ambassador Robert McCloskey said that Kissinger and Gromyko will also confer on other East-West topics, including chances for a new treaty limiting offensive nuclear weapons.
Theater.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Fear, it may be said, is a malignancy which, once the seed is sown in the human soul, spreads like a voracious and all-consuming fungus throughout the psyche, smothering it at last in death. No one knew this better than the justly celebrated author Robert Louis Stevenson. No one has ever expressed it more vividly, more frighteningly than he in his story, The Suicide Club. Our mystery drama, The Suicide Club, was especially adapted from the Robert Louis Stevenson classic for the Mystery Theater by George Lothar and stars Barry Nelson. Compulsion. What is it? What is it within most of us, perhaps all of us, that compels us to do this or that? What drives the alcoholic to take that first drink he knows will lead to drunkenness, and almost certainly eventual death? What spurs a compulsive gambler to bet again and again, aware always that in the end it can only bring him to ruin? That was a question Victor Harris often asked himself, but could never answer, until a certain fatal night when he met a man who called himself John Smith.
Well, your health, Mr. Harris.
Yours, Mr. Smith, I think you said.
As good a name as any other.
And why did you invite me for this drink, Mr. Smith? It isn't customary, you know. More often than not, the strangers one meets at poker games remain strangers. Why?
You interest me, Mr. Harris. In fact, you intrigue me. Oh. The last hand we played, everyone else had dropped out, leaving just you and me. I admired the way you played. I admired your nerve. More than anything else, I admired your coolness, your indifference when you lost. $37,000, Mr. Harris. $37,000.
Your admiration is misplaced. Cool, indifferent, why not? $37,000 is nothing to me. I'm a millionaire, Mr. Smith.
Oh, are you?
Several times over.
Well, then, losing that much would mean little to you, if anything at all. Where's the thrill in winning or losing?
There isn't any. Not for me. Not anymore.
Then what point is there in playing?
None. None whatever. Gambling of any kind bores me. But I go on because, well, Mr. Smith, I'm what is called a compulsive gambler.
I see. What would you say if I were to tell you that I can change your boredom into a thrill, the like of which you have never experienced before? There's a price tag, of course.
What is the nature of this thrill that you're talking about?
I'm talking about what might be called the supreme gamble, Mr. Harris.
The supreme gamble?
Yes.
That sounds like a matter of life and death.
It does, doesn't it?
Is it?
You're a gambler, Mr. Harris, and a compulsive gambler at that. I think you'll be willing to gamble an hour or two of your time to find out. Here's my card. I'll be expecting you at this address tomorrow night. 7:30 sharp.
Suppose I don't show.
Why, then, you'll never know what the supreme gamble is. And you'll go on being bored. Yes?
My name's Harris. Victor Harris. I believe Mr. Smith is expecting me.
Yes, he is. Come in. This way, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Victor Harris, sir.
Thank you, Lucas. Good to see you again, Mr. Harris. We'll join you in a few moments, Lucas. This, Mr. Harris, is the game room. In this room, every night, Saturday and Sunday excepted, the supreme gamble takes place.
But what is the supreme gamble?
First, tell me what you see.
Why, a room. Large room, tastefully and expensively decorated in 18th century style. And that large round table covered with a green cloth looks like a card table.
That's what it is.
And the people in evening dress, men in black tie, women in gown, all drinking champagne.
Their faces. Look at their faces. Look closely. Well, what do you see?
Why, their faces, they're all of them excited about something I can see. Yes, they all look as if, well, as if they're expecting something very exciting to happen at any moment.
They are. But not at any moment. Not until 8 sharp.
What happens at 8 sharp?
That you'll find out at 8 sharp. In the meantime, let me introduce you to one or two members of our club.
Oh? It's a club?
Yes. A very select club, Mr. Harris. Oh, Mr. Malice, may I introduce Mr. Harris, a new member?
How do you do? How do you do? Correction, though. I'm not a new member yet.
He will be, Mr. Malice. He will be.
See you a minute, Director.
Of course, Lucas. Excuse me, gentlemen.
Lucas called Mr. Smith director.
Yes, we all do. He's the director of our little club.
I see. Mr. Malthus, what kind of club is this?
You don't know?
No.
Then why are you here?
To tell you the truth, I'm not exactly sure, except, well, Mr. Smith, your director, promises I'll experience the thrill of my life, the supreme gamble, he calls it.
It is that, Mr. Harris.
These people, you're here because you like to gamble?
Oh, no. No, not at all. I don't in the least like to gamble. No, I'm here because I'm a coward.
A coward? What do you mean?
Just that. I'm a coward. I'm afraid of...
Well, I see you two have become acquainted. But I'll take our new guest away from you now, Malthus. I see Iris Lawrence sitting all by herself as usual. Come along, Harris. I'll introduce you.
Wish me luck tonight, Director.
I do indeed, Malthus. I do indeed. Iris, let me introduce our latest member, Mr. Victor Harris.
I'm not a member, Mr. Smith.
Director. Call me Director from now on.
No offense, but I'll call you what I please until I am a member, if I am.
I doubt that you will be, Mr. Harris.
Why, Iris, what do you mean?
Just what I say. He doesn't look like one of us.
Oh, but he is. In a different way, for a different reason. I'll leave you two together. I've got to prepare a fresh deck of cards.
I don't think I got your last name, Mrs.
Miss Iris Lorne.
Well, you said that I don't look like one of you.
You don't.
Where's the difference?
Your eyes. In your eyes. That seems to puzzle you, Mr. Harris. Look into my eyes. Look deep. What do you see?
Sadness. Yes. Great sadness. The sadness of
Death.
Death?
I'm Mr. Harris. I've been for years.
Oh, I'm afraid I don't understand.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention. It is time. Gather around the table, please. Our director will now deal the cards. To Mr. Crane's, the two of hearts. To Mr. Shaw, the 8 of diamonds. Mrs. Harper receives the 4 of clubs. Next card to Mr. Burke, the 9 of spades. Miss Russell this time. Next card to Mr. Wolfson, the ace of spades. Since Mr. Morley has already drawn the ace of clubs, the game is ended. Mr. Wolfson, Mr. Morley, I will see you both in my office as soon as I've completed my business with Mr. Harris. This way, Mr. Harris. Oh, Lucas, champagne all around as usual. Yes, Director. Well, sit down, Mr. Harris. Drink?
Thanks, no. Just tell me, what's this all about?
Have you ever thought of committing suicide?
No, I've never thought seriously of suicide.
Well, many do, you know. Think of it seriously, that is. And some of these, quite a few, do take their own lives. But you'd be amazed, Mr. Harris, at how many people there are in the world who want to kill themselves. In fact, yearn to kill themselves, but haven't the nerve to do it.
So?
We do it for them. To put it more aptly, we arrange it for them once they become members of the club. The Suicide Club, we call it. Think of the gamble, Mr. Harris. The supreme gamble of your life. Think of the thrill of each night, staking your life on the turn of a card. Not a momentary thrill, but one that will make each day worth living because it may be your last.
The ace of spades, the ace of clubs.
Simple. Whoever in each nightly deal receives the ace of spades is killed. Everything, of course, is arranged to make his or her death appear accidental.
The ace of spades, the person killed. The ace of clubs,
the one who does the killing.
Then one is the victim, the other is murderer. Huh. You spoke of a fee.
Unnecessary evil, I'm afraid. The club's overhead is high, extremely high. Accordingly, so is the fee.
Which is?
Half your estate. Half of what you own.
Half?
That may sound unreasonable to you at first, But it all balances out, you see. What I mean is, there are members of the Suicide Club who have large estates, vast wealth. But at the other extreme, there are some who have virtually no estate, no money at all. Miss Lorne, for example. Alice, you met her. Practically penniless. She was quite well-to-do when she joined some time ago, but luck, the cards, has been against her. And in the meantime, she has spent everything she had on her habit.
Drugs. She's a drug addict.
Which is why she wants to die. It's the only solution to her problem.
What a shame. She's so lovely. Her life could be so worth living.
But isn't. Not anymore. Well, now, Mr. Harris, I promised you the greatest thrill you've ever had. I promised to cure your boredom with life for the remainder of your life. I'm ready to keep that promise with, as I said last night, the supreme gamble. Signed here. Yes?
I'd like to think it over.
You know what your decision will be. You're a compulsive gambler, Mr. Harris. Whether you join the Suicide Club now or later, you will join. I know it. You know it. To be bored is to be, as you so well know. Why not live a little? Why not sign? Now?
Why not? Yes. Why not?
Compulsion, psychiatrists say, is another word for decision. Deep in the very core of his being, a person has made a decision that gambling, drinking, whatever may be ruining his life, is somehow necessary to his happiness. Bored, weary of a life of compulsive gambling which has lost its stimulation, Victor Harris, wealthy man about town, has joined the Suicide Club. Other members have joined because they want to end their jaded lives, but cannot bring themselves to do so. And so, it must be done for them. Victor's reason is different. A gambler who cannot stop himself from gambling, he has decided to take the supreme gamble. His life on the turn of a card.
Your first night, Harris. Bon chance. Good luck.
I'm not quite sure how to take that, Mr. Beg pardon, Director. I'm staking my life on the turn of a card. I grant you I'm a compulsive gambler, but my life? I wasn't quite prepared for anything like that when I came here for the first time last night.
I hope you're prepared now. We play in less than 5 minutes. Why not wander about, become better acquainted with your fellow members?
I'll do that.
Oh, and by the way, it's customary for new members to order champagne for everyone.
Oh? Well, I'll be more than glad to.
Lucas, champagne all around. On Mr. Harris.
Yes, Director.
See you at the table, Harris.
Yes. Miss Lorne, may I join you?
Oh, Mr. Harris. Please do. So, you did join?
Yeah, even though you said that I wouldn't.
I didn't say that. I said that you shouldn't. But even when I said it, you had no choice.
No choice?
Once you accept our director's invitation to pay this place a visit, you've had it. There's no turning back. No way.
Why not?
You'll find out. I did.
What do you mean?
He doesn't run this place for kicks. Or maybe he does, in a way. But what he's really after is your money. And according to the grapevine, we have one here, too. You've got plenty.
Well, according to the grapevine, you have none. You're penniless.
Now, yes. I was worth well over 100,000 when I joined almost 6 months ago.
And?
Oh, well, a lot of it, I don't know how much. I don't keep count. Went for heroin. Well, of course you know I'm on tape.
Yes. And I'm sorry.
You? Sorry? For me, you're hooked as badly as I am. On gambling, they say.
I'm afraid that's the truth.
A habit. You can't kick, just as I can't kick mine.
Look, Miss Lorne, Iris, if I may, I made a decision to join the Suicide Club last night. I can make the decision to leave it, too.
Can you?
Well, of course I can. Why do you say,
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention. It is time. Gather around the table, please. Our director will now deal the cards. The tray of spades to Mr. Dowling. For you, Mrs. Cranes, the four of clubs. For Mr. Malthus. For Mr. Malthus, the ace of spades.
Oh. I've won at last.
Mr.
I've
Malthus.
won. I've won.
Mr. Malthus, remember the club rules. Control, Mr. Malthus.
But
Control.
I've won. This will be my last night on Earth. After all this time, my last night.
Mr. Malthus.
I beg pardon, Director. I truly beg pardon.
Let us go on. Mr. Robinson, 8 of diamonds. Miss Feitzen, 2 of spades. Mr. Whalen, 9 of hearts. Mr. Harris? Ah, Mr. Harris. Your first supreme gamble. Yes. What card shall it be, do you think? Here it lies on top of the deck. What shall it be?
well, it can't be the ace of spades.
True.
Well, what is it?
I don't know. I haven't looked. Enjoy yourself, Mr. Harris. Feel the excitement of not knowing. Live the supreme thrill of wondering. What is this next card?
Turn it.
Why don't I put it aside and draw the others?
Turn that card.
As you wish. It's a club, Mr. Harris. The ace of clubs. Mr. Malthus, Mr. Harris, you will join me in my office in 5 minutes.
I'm no murderer.
You wanted a thrill you're about to find, I'm afraid.
Be seated, please. You there, Mr. Malthus. Mr. Harris, here.
When shall it be, Director? When is my moment come? How shall it be done? And where?
Patience, Mr. Malthus. Patience. Your suicide will take place tonight at approximately 10:30. Is that satisfactory?
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
Good. Now, here are your instructions and a map to go along with them. This straight line represents the Uptown Express platform of the IRT subway at 42nd Street.
Yes.
This arrow indicates the direction from which the Uptown Express train will come into the station. At 10:30 tonight, you are to stand at precisely this spot that I've marked with an X.
X marks the spot.
Yes. Now, the platform will be filled with the after-theater crowd. You will take up your position at this spot and stand at the very edge of the platform. Clear?
Very.
Goodbye, Mr. Malthus. And Godspeed.
Goodbye. And thank you for all you've done.
And now, Mr. Harris?
I have no intention of going through with this. I'm no murderer.
Of course not. When you push Malthus in front of that train, you'll not be murdering him. You'll be doing him a service. Like all our members, he wants to die, but he hasn't the nerve to kill himself. You will simply be doing it for him. And that, as I see it, is not murder.
I see it differently.
That's too bad, Mr. Harris. I'm sorry, but frankly, there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, I think there is. I'm resigning from your club right now. Goodbye.
Mr. Harris, no one resigns from the Suicide Club. No one ever has. No one ever will. I couldn't possibly run that risk.
You have my assurance that I'd never say a word about...
Assurance. Assurances. What are assurances to me? No, Mr. Harris, there's only one assurance you can give me that I can possibly accept. Your death. Or, more properly, your suicide.
This is madness.
Perhaps. But if it is, it's only another form of madness, Mr. Harris. Like, say, compulsive gambling.
I won't argue with you further.
No, you won't. I've had enough of your argument. You know what you have to do tonight. You know where and when. Do it. Do it, Mr. Harris. For if you don't, I promise you'll wish you had. And as you already know, I keep the promises I make.
Mr. Malthus. Mr. Malthus?
What? Mr. Harris, you're just in time. The express will be along in a minute or two.
Listen to me.
We really shouldn't be seen talking together. Just stand behind me, and when the right moment comes...
Listen to me. I'm not going to kill you.
You're not?
I can't.
Well, you must. I can't do it either. Why do you think you're here?
To save you, if I can.
Well, save me.
You don't want to do this. You don't really want to take your life.
You're crazy. Of course I want to do it. But I can't. I haven't the nerve. You must do it. You must.
No, we'll go somewhere and talk.
Talk? The train. You can see the lights far down in the tunnel. It's coming. It's coming. Oh, you will do it, won't you?
I can't. I've got to get away from here. I've got to get away.
Victor Harris.
Iris, what are you doing here?
I followed you.
Why?
Because I had this feeling.
Malthus! He must have found the nerve to do it himself.
No, Mr. Harris, I did.
Lucas, you shot him?
The director figured you'd lose your nerve. It happens sometimes, and when it does, I take over. Well, see you, and you, Miss Lauren, at the club tomorrow night. 8 sharp, as usual.
You got it wrong, Lucas. You won't see me tomorrow night or any other night.
You got it wrong, Mr. Harris. If you don't show up tomorrow night, there won't be any other night. Not for you or Miss Lauren.
As Victor Harris watches Lucas vanish quickly into the crowd, surely he begins to realize what his compulsion to gamble has brought him to. To what? Why, to certain death, wouldn't you say? I would. Yes, you, listening to my voice, are Victor Harris, or, depending on gender, Iris Lauren. If you are Victor, you join the Suicide Club for a thrill. If you are Iris, you joined because you were sick of life and wanted someone to do for you what you could not do for yourself, commit suicide, kill you. But whether you are Victor or Iris, you begin to wonder if you've made a mistake, a fatal mistake, now that it's too late. And so now, Victor, Iris, you are in a secluded cocktail lounge.
Iris, I don't understand.
What more can I say? I've made it plain enough. I followed you, Victor, because I couldn't bring myself to believe you'd kill Mr. Malthus.
And intended to stop me if I tried. Now, that's what I don't understand. Why did you intend to stop me? Well?
You won't believe me.
Try me.
I love you. I told you wouldn't believe me.
Well, it is a little hard to believe. We only met last night. In fact, we We haven't spent much more than, 20 minutes at most in each other's company.
Well, how long does it take to fall in love?
I don't know.
I do. I found out when I met you last night. You don't believe me, do you?
I believe you mean what you say, but...
But what?
Look, we're both compulsive personalities. With me, it's gambling. With you, drugs. That means neither of us is totally in control of ourselves.
I love you, Victor Harris. It's as simple as that. And that's all there is. I love you.
Well, I'm honored. And flattered. Iris, I mean that. But I'm afraid I don't feel the same way about you.
Oh, that's all right?
No, it isn't all right. I wish... Oh, well, what's the sense of talking about what I wish or don't wish or anything? We're in trouble, Iris. Real trouble. And what we'd better start talking about is how to get ourselves out of it if we can.
Do you think we can?
We can sure try. We better try. It's that or death. Waiter, check, please.
What are you going to do?
The only thing I can do. Go to the police. Lieutenant, that's the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
You don't sound as if you believed us, Lieutenant.
Tell me something, Miss Long. How long you been mainlining?
Mainlining?
You know what I mean? It's written all over you. Your eyes, the nose twitching, the long sleeve dress. Pull up that sleeve and let's have a look.
It's no need. It's true.
Okay. What about you?
Me?
What are you on? Uppers, downers, mescaline?
I'm not on anything. I'm no drug addict. Look, Lieutenant.
Sounds like a pipe dream. A suicide club. Now, Mr. Harris, I've heard some far-out stories, but yours is... it's outer space.
I see. In other words, you don't intend to do anything.
We'll check it out, but word of advice?
Yes?
You and her. Kick the habit and try to get your feet back down on earth. Huh?
Oh, Vic, we've got to go to my place.
Oh, no, we're staying right here in this church till I figure out our next move.
I've got to have the fix. I'm going out of my skull.
It's that bad.
Oh, you just don't know. Vic, I've been almost 24 hours without one. We've been running all day. Central Park, Radio City Music Hall, now this church.
We couldn't go to my place or yours. The director, Lucas, they're sure to be looking for us.
I can't stand it. I can't.
You don't have to, Miss Long.
What? Lucas?
Right here in the pew behind you, Mr. Harris. Here, Miss Long. It's just a skin pop, but it'll hold you till we get...
Give it to me, give it to me. Oh, no.
Something wrong?
Not in a church. I won't. Not in a church.
Suit yourself. Let's go. The director is waiting. You heard me, you two.
Come on, Iris. And Iris?
Yes?
Good girl.
Mr. Harris and Miss Long, director.
Come in, come in. I was a bit worried about you two. Going to the police, revealing all about our intimate little club.
How do you know that we...
Had a visit today from a Lieutenant McPhee. He didn't mention you by name, but I have reason to suspect you know him. Big fellow, 6'2", shoulders like an ox. And not very bright, I'm afraid. Not very bright at all. Lucas showed him about. I couldn't be bothered. Lucas, tell them what happened.
Nothing happened. I showed him around. Just a private residence. What else?
As you say, what else? Well, now, champagne for you, Mr. Harris. And this for you, Miss Lawrence.
I don't want your champagne. And she doesn't want that. Do you, Iris?
Why not? Why shouldn't I? I'm dying for it.
Then here, my dear.
Iris, no.
Oh, Vic.
Iris, no. Please.
do. I can't help myself. I'm all alone. I've been alone and I need something to comfort me.
Come here. Into my arms. Come. Come. I'll comfort you, my darling. I'll comfort you.
Well, how touching. How altogether. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this since the Suicide Club opened. Have you, Lucas?
No. No, I haven't.
However, life must go on, or to be precise, death. And it is time for our evening ritual. Come, Miss Lauren, Mr. Harris. Our little game of cards awaits us. For Mr. Dowling, the 5 of diamonds. Mr. Whalen, the 9 of hearts. Mrs. Lawton, the ace of diamonds. Mr. Whalen, the deuce of spades. For Miss Lauren, Iris, the ace of clubs.
Oh, Victor.
Steady.
For Miss Feitzen, the 8 of hearts. Mr. Hanson, the 10 of hearts. For Mr. Harris, the ace of spades. That ends the play for this evening. Miss Lauren and Mr. Harris will join me in my office, please.
Victor, I feel sick. I think I'm going to say...
Miss Lauren, wait. Where are you going?
To the powder room, you fool. She's sick.
Mrs. Lawton, do what you can for her. In my office, Mr. Harris. Well, now, Mr. Harris, it appears that Dame Fortune has frowned on you tonight. Regrettably, you have just experienced the final gambling thrill of your young life.
You arranged it, didn't you? You filth.
Now. Manners, Mr. Harris. No name calling, please.
Smith, you're not going through with this.
Oh, yes?
I don't intend to die tonight or any other night for a long, long time. I'm resigning from this insanity you call a club. And so is Miss Lorne.
You know, really, if I hadn't the slightest idea you were going to be this wearisome, I'd not have let you join in the first place. I have already told you that we have but one form of resignation from the Suicide Club. Death.
Well, let me just tell you...
Enough. Your instructions are to leave here immediately and return to that elegant penthouse apartment of yours. Go to your apartment and stay there. And oh yes, if you have any idea of seeking help, such as going to the police or anything of that nature, don't. You will be very closely watched from the moment you leave. And any attempt to disobey my orders will result not only in your death, but Iris Lawrence's as well.
Oh, Victor, what can we do?
Your instructions. Just how are you to kill me?
Kill you? I could never kill you, you know that.
But what instructions?
Just to come here and wait, that was all.
That settles it. They're going to kill us both.
What makes you think?
I was followed until I got here. The first thing I did was to call the police, or try to. The phone's... I had a gun in my desk drawer. It's gone. They'd been here, and they didn't miss a trick. And now, just telling you to wait. Iris, we're trapped.
Oh, dear Lord.
Hang on now. We're going to the police.
Oh, we'll never get there. I was followed here, just as you were. They're watching our every move.
We can give it a try. It's a gamble.
Oh, Victor.
I just lost.
God, what are we going to do?
What can we do?
We won't answer.
No, that won't do any good. They've got a key. I'm sure. Now, look, there's just one chance. You answer the door. I'll stand behind it. And, well, Lord knows, I'm not much when it comes to fighting, but I can try. Go ahead. Open it.
Thank you, Miss Lorne. I was just about to use my key. Okay, I come in?
I can't stop you, Lucas.
No, you can't. And how about you coming out from behind the door, Mr. Harris? It wouldn't have done you any good anyhow. You're no match for me. It might have been worth a try. The director has given me his orders, and I'm here to carry them out. Everything can be done fast and easy if you cooperate.
And if we don't?
Don't give me a hard time, Mr. Harris, please. You got the ace of spades tonight. Miss Lauren got the ace of clubs. Following the club rules, Miss Lauren kills you. And this time we make sure it looks like suicide.
I won't do it. I won't do it.
You'll do it. Or there's going to be one little change, one little difference tonight. After you kill Mr. Harris, after he commits suicide, you might say, you're going to commit suicide too.
What do you mean?
Let's all go into the kitchen and find out.
Why, the kitchen?
That's where the stove is. The gas stove.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Move, Miss Lauren.
Look, Lucas. Look, you're being stupid. One suicide, the police will buy that. But two...
You never heard of a suicide pact between lovers? It says so right here. See?
What?
That's the suicide note you're leaving. See, it's typed, but signed Iris Lauren, Victor Harris.
Those signatures. How did
they forge them? The contracts we signed.
Just put the note on the table there, No. Don't just toss it there. Fold it neatly and... One chop at the back of the neck. He'll be out a long time. In fact, he won't be coming back. And now, Miss Lauren, turn on the gas.
No.
Miss Lauren.
I won't do it. I can't.
Let's see now. Drag her into his arms. Put his arm around her. Like so. Good. All we need now is the gas.
Okay, Eddie, he's coming around. Feed her again with the oxygen. Okay, Mr. Harris, snap out of it. Come on now.
Where?
Breathe deep. Come on now. Deep. Attaboy. That's the way.
Iris.
She's coming around fine. Gonna be okay, just like you.
Lieutenant McPhee, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, how did you...
I'm not as dumb as I look or act, Mr. Harris. I kind of put it on, you know, an act. Throw a lot of characters off their guard that way.
Smith didn't fool you.
No, I fooled him. When that guy Lucas took me on a tour of the house, I saw a lot more than he thought I saw.
Well, what could you have seen?
That big round table in the middle of the room. Oh, there was a vase of flowers on it, and like that, but there's a circle worn in the rug around the table, and nobody admires flowers that much, Mr. Harris. Oh, and I checked the sanitation boys and heard about the dozens and dozens of empty champagne bottles they picked up 3 times a week. All that, plus the accidental death of Mr. Malthus, as you described it. Oh, sure, I checked on that, of course. Well, it all added up.
You had us followed.
You and the lady have been tailed practically since you left headquarters. Okay, Eddie, she's had enough. Come on, little lady. Come on. Come on now.
What? Oh, Victor.
Iris.
Oh.
Iris.
She's going to be okay. Oh, by the way, Mr. Harris, you'll be glad to know we got a confession out of Lucas and Smith. And that's the end of the Suicide Club.
Oh, it's the end of something else, too.
Yeah? What?
My compulsive gambling. I'll never make another bet as long as I live.
Victor Harris never did gamble again. The Suicide Club cured him of that. And, oh yes, it cured Iris Lauren of drug addiction. Although I'm not so sure it wasn't having someone to live for, someone to love. They're married now. Victor never had a chance. Comes to that, what man has? Our cast included Barry Nelson, Marion Seldes, John Barragray, Dan Ockel, and Lloyd Batista. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
Preceding Mystery Theater program is furnished by the CBS Radio Network. This is WOR New York and RKO General Station. It's 8 o'clock. Here's John Scott with the news.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome to another hour of mystery and suspense. To a terrifying experiment in supernatural power. An experiment by a retired scientist to direct his wife's subconscious mind to shoot him. Our mystery drama, The Breaking Point, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Hank Warner and stars Roger DeKoven. It is sponsored in part by the Kellogg Company, makers of Kellogg's Special K cereal, and by new sugar-free Diet 7-Up. I'll be back shortly with Act 1.
And now another story of the ball and chain as Kellogg's Special K presents Veronica and Jeff.
Oh, Jeffrey, isn't this romantic? Out in a quiet lake at night with you rowing the boat.
Yes, Veronica, it's really neat.
Jeffrey, what was that?
Frogs.
Frogs that go bonk?
They're pretty weird frogs.
Oh, Jeffrey, you're such a card. You have a ball and chain, like the ones they use in those Special K commercials.
Yes, Veronica, it symbolizes my few pounds of extra weight, but I'm going to get rid of it.
How?
By exercising. You know, like rowing this boat and eating smart at every meal, starting with a Special K breakfast.
You mean a 1-ounce bowl of high-protein Special K, 4 ounces of skim milk, orange juice, and coffee?
Precisely. It's less than 240 calories, and it tastes delicious. It'll help me get rid of this ball and chain.
I'll help too, Jeff. After all, we're all in the same boat.
You have a ball and chain, too.
Your happy ending could begin with the Special K breakfast from Kellogg's. There's a very special deal going on at all offices of Suburban Savings throughout North Jersey. It's called Suburban Special Interest Deal, and you'll be especially interested in the savings you get. A top 7.90% effective annual yield on Suburban's limited issue 7.50% savings certificate. And Suburban guarantees it from 4 to 10 years, minimum deposit $2,500. Early withdrawal prior to maturity is subject to a substantial penalty. Suburban compounds interest continuously from day of deposit, paid quarterly. So you not only get interest on your savings, you get interest on the interest. And Suburban offers you the highest interest rate allowed by law. Here's your chance to get a great savings. A top 7.90% effective annual yield on Suburban's limited issue 7.50% savings certificate. Why not deal yourself into Suburban Savings Special Interest Deal in Bayonne, Edgewater, Elmwood Park, Emerson, Hackettstown, Morris Plains, Nutley, Paramus, and Sparta.
Come, ride with me in this ambulance, speeding through the midnight fog, across the Golden Gate Bridge to St. Francis Hospital in downtown San Francisco. As the trauma emergency team tries with plasma and oxygen to keep critically wounded Professor William Baker alive. The driver and the 2 doctors know that the patient must get to the operating room in minutes. Now, quickly, up this hospital corridor, as the patient is wheeled into the operating room. Stand outside the door and listen as they try to save him. And maybe you'll learn what Professor Baker tried to learn about the dark mystery of life and death.
Scalpel.
Flap.
The patient's failing, Doctor.
Blood pressure?
62/40.
Adrenaline. I can hear them trying to save me, but I'm going to die. And I want you to know that I'm dying all because I made my wife murder me. Yes, I am dying because I conducted an experiment to influence my wife's subconscious mind to the point where she was going to murder me. Listen carefully. I will tell you exactly what happened. And when I have completed what I desire to communicate, go to the police. Tell them if you dare. I say dare, for it will require courage. It began this afternoon when Dr. Philip Simpson, the brilliant young brain surgeon, drove up in his station wagon from Palo Alto to address the San Francisco Medical Society and spend the night with us at the cottage Helen, my wife, and I had rented in the wooded hillside just across the Golden Gate Bridge, overlooking the ocean. He brought Chi-Chi, one of 2 capuchin monkeys he kept under observation in his research laboratory. It's good to see you, Philip.
It's so good to see you, Professor Baker.
So, that's Chi-Chi.
Yes, he wants to get out. Quiet town, Chi-Chi. Come on, you can come out.
Hello, Chi-Chi. Oh, you want to shake hands, too, of course. Welcome, Chi-Chi.
Very affectionate. Astounding talent for mimicry.
Oh, dear.
Get off Professor Baker's shoulder, Chi-Chi. Come on down. He likes your hat. No, Chi-Chi. No. All right, now you've tried it on. Give it back.
Oh, thank you, Chi-Chi.
He gets tired of wearing his black skull cap. Chi-Chi, let go of my hand. Now, you go on by yourself. He's always curious about new surroundings. Probably wants to explore that grove of trees. Go on, Chi-Chi. He won't go far. He'll play for a while and come back. Beautiful place you have here, Professor Baker. Is Helen home?
Oh, she'll be back shortly. Had some shopping in the village. She just had to have abalone for you. She remembered how much you enjoy abalone steak.
Wonderful, wonderful. How is she? You and Helen certainly could not have found a lovelier place for retirement.
It is rather isolated, but then it does have that increasingly rare commodity, peace and quiet. Let's walk around back.
Just beautiful. This view.
How about a cocktail?
Well, why don't we wait for Helen?
Well, she ought to be back any minute. We usually have our evening cocktail in the study. Gets foggy on the patio towards sundown. What about Chi-Chi?
Oh, he'll be all right. He'll open the patio door if it's left unlocked. Gets hysterical if he thinks he's been locked up.
Still like dry Manhattans?
Perfect. Did you tell Helen that you had asked me to bring Chi-Chi?
I intended to. Slipped my mind. Here you are.
Ah, thank you. Well, cheers. That's good as ever. I hope Helen won't be upset.
I'm sure she won't. I rather think she'll be intrigued with the idea of having Chi-Chi here for our experiments.
What, you mean she's working with you on the research?
Oh, yes. She's very cooperative. Finds it lots of fun.
Well, that is interesting. Is she as intrigued as you seem to be with psychic studies?
Well, frankly, I don't believe so. She's been very cooperative, but I don't think she really approves.
Oh?
Well, sometimes I question the wisdom of having married at my age.
Oh, come on now.
I remind you, Philip, Helen is 20 years younger. I sometimes have the feeling she feels trapped, misses the activities of faculty wives she so enjoyed in the years before my retirement. Perhaps we'd had children. Philip, Helen should have married you when you were both graduate students.
Well, there's nothing happened between you.
No, Philip, not yet, but...
Well, don't tell me that you, Professor Baker, an eminent physicist for 40 years, with worldwide reputation for scientific integrity, has succumbed to clairvoyance?
And you, Philip? Do you have irrefutable proof that clairvoyance does not ever exist? Can you issue an assurance that something will not happen? Oh, that's Helen now.
Oh.
Philip!
Hello, Helen.
As I look back now to that moment when Dr. Simpson and I waited for Helen to come into the house, I fully realize that the quick flush that passed over his tense face meant the one thing I had been blind to, that he was still in love with her. Helen entered the room with packages in her arms. She threw them on the sofa, rushed towards him, her face glowing with pleasure, embraced him and kissed his cheek, hugged him.
Oh, Philip, it's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
Oh, let me look at you. Oh, it's so good to see you.
Neither one of them saw Chi-Chi open the door from the garden, come into the room, climb a table, and spring onto her shoulder, its furry paws around her neck.
Chi-Chi! Come down, Chi-Chi. Let go of her. Now, come down. There, now stay down.
It's a monkey. Oh, I couldn't imagine what. All I saw and felt were hairy paws.
It's all right, Chi-Chi. It's all right. Now, just be quiet. I'm so sorry he scared you, Helen. He was trying to be affectionate.
Yeah, well, I sure can do with a drink.
Here you are, dear.
Thank you. He is cute, but why the black skull cap?
Well, you might say aesthetic reasons.
Aesthetic?
Or cosmetic. Philip doesn't like his little wards running around in public with their brains exposed.
Brains exposed?
Yes, that's right, Helen. The skull cap covers Chi-Chi's plastic skull. Now, I'll show you. There you are.
Well, you can see its brain. It's positively fascinating. It's almost unbelievable. Oh, Philip, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant surgery.
Wait a minute, Helen. I'm just carrying on what was begun in 1948 at the Naval Medical Research Institute in Bethesda, Maryland.
Really? I had no idea such surgery was possible that far back.
Helen, my dear, there's a big gap in your knowledge of surgery. The ancient Egyptians operated on cranial bone.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Look here, Helen. Surgeons in a series of 4 operations removed cranial bone from the shaved head. And when the skull healed, fitted the metal ring around the edge of the skull, sealing the joint with rosin and wax. The clear plastic skull is held in place by these 6 steel bolts.
Marvelous. Simply marvelous.
Oh, it's practically routine now.
Well, why was it done, Philip?
Well, to study through the plastic skull, as I'm still studying, the flow of blood when the monkeys are in an induced state of shock or under the influence of anesthesia or drugs like adrenaline, histamine. And, of course, reactions to cold, hunger, diet, fear, tension, and so forth. Incidentally, I'm leaving Chi-Chi here for a while.
Here?
Oh, I'm sorry, Helen. I simply forgot to tell you.
Yes, but why? I mean, why is it being left here?
What Philip is too polite to say, my dear, is that he's loaning Chi-Chi to me for extrasensory and paranormal experiments, to make my own observations. I believe he hopes to convince me that the brain, monkeys, or man's fails to respond with a measurable reaction to mental energy messages.
Exactly.
Look, I'm curious. Why must the experiment be with a monkey when a dog, a horse?
Philip understands, don't you, Philip?
Well, Helen, in the scale of intelligence among animals, the monkey has the highest ability to learn next to man.
Oh, Philip, what time is your lecture?
Well, I should be at the academy by 8.
Good. Give us enough time for another cocktail. And not have to rush through dinner. Darling, please shake up another round. I'll take these packages to the kitchen.
Well, here, let me carry them in.
Oh, well, just put them on the counter, Philip.
Mm-hmm. Anything else I can help you with? Just show me where things are. I'll help set the table. What is it, Helen? You all right?
Yes. The table. The table.
What are you talking about? I said I'd help set the table.
Oh, well, later. Let's have our drink and talk. There's so much to catch up with, Philip. More coffee, Philip?
Yes, please.
Oh, have some more of the strawberries, Philip. And ice cream.
Just a little. Helen, what you've been telling me is hardly believable.
Well, there's no room for disbelief, Philip. There's evidence.
Evidence?
Yes. I'll get the drawings. Excuse me. Be right back. They're in the study.
I don't like it, Helen. Do you have these dizzy spells often?
Well, they've been more frequent recently.
Well, you should stop participating in such experiments. I'll talk to William.
Oh, please don't. Please.
Here we are. Philip, look at these rough line drawings. Do they suggest recognizable objects?
Well, this might be an apple, I guess. This, suggests a knife. I can't see anything in this one. Meaningless lines.
Yes, that one is meaningless. Note the dates on the drawings. About a month ago, I sat at this table with 3 objects in my hands. An apple, a knife, and a salt shaker. Helen was stretched out on her back in the bedroom, her mind clear of any thoughts or feelings, awaiting my energy message. She could not hear me. She could only receive my thoughts, my instructions. I sent a message for her to pick up the pad and pencil on the night table. I sent an energy message telling her I was holding an apple, a knife, and a salt shaker, and for her to draw them. She got 2 out of 3.
You ask me to accept this as evidence that you can control the actions of the mind of a person who's out of your sight? Out of the sound of your voice, even physically in another place? Oh, I call it coincidence, accident.
It did happen, Philip. In many other experiments we did together. It took me months of training to achieve a state of receptivity.
Well, that's all very interesting, but I'd better soon be on my way to the academy.
I can see you're still skeptical. Can you spare 3 more minutes for another, as you say, interesting experiment now? Right here with Helen?
With Helen? I'd rather not.
I don't mind, Philip.
All right, very well.
Thank you, Helen. Lie down in the bedroom. I'll give you 2 minutes to achieve receptivity. I will repeat once more, Helen. Come back. Pick up the coffee pot and pour the coffee right on your fine lace tablecloth.
You're not going to let her...
No, this gong will stop her.
More coffee, Philip?
Well, I really should be going.
Oh, yes, before the bridge traffic gets heavy.
Here, I'll help you carry these things to the kitchen.
He followed her into the kitchen, carrying a tray. The brilliant Dr. Simpson had been puzzled. Are you all right? He had asked her. Dr. Simpson, who recognized only the physical laws of matter, had asked, are you all right? But she wasn't all right. Dr. Simpson didn't know then what the trouble was. But late that night, when he returned from his lecture, he found out about the experiment that was underway with the loaded gun in the night table.
I'll be back shortly with Act 2.
Hello, Ms. Goldilocks here, and welcome to my professional taste testing laboratory. Oh, Papa Bear, could you bring that case of sugar-free Diet 7-Up over here?
Another case? Miss Goldilocks, you're drinking the sugar-free Diet 7-Up like there's no tomorrow. You can't still be taste testing it.
Oh, no, Papa Bear. Sugar-free Diet 7-Up has already earned my seal of approval. It's fresh, light, natural, delicious. I drink it because I love its taste. Now hurry up.
Okay, here.
This sugar-free Diet 7-Up really tastes delicious. Ladies, if you're tired of switching from one diet drink to another, take some advice from Ms. Goldilocks. Try sugar-free Diet 7-Up and you'll say, yes, this one's just right.
I'll bear witness to that, Goldie.
Hey, Mom, what's for dinner? Hey, Mom, what you got?
What's for dinner? Your ShopRite is featuring ShopRite or Shenandoah brand Grade A Rock Cornish hens. A real family treat at just 47 cents a pound. What's for breakfast? Listen to these ShopRite values. ShopRite Grade A large eggs, 59 cents a dozen. ShopRite sliced bacon, 1 pound package, 79 cents. ShopRite Grade AA butter, 1 pound brick, 69 cents. Crown Top white bread, 22 ounce loaves, 3 for $1. Save on every meal at ShopRite.
She loves the family. She wants the best. She does all that she can do. She lets ShopRite do the rest. Hey, Ma, what's for dinner? ShopRite has the answer.
WOR New York, your Mystery Theater station.
Helen didn't wait up for Dr. Simpson to return. I waited in the study, dark but for the small lamp on my desk, and still, except for the soft breathing of Chi-Chi asleep in the shadowy corner of the sofa. I waited and read until I could be sure that Helen was sound asleep. I unlocked my desk and took out the one notebook I kept hidden from her and made an entry. The experiment is beginning to show results. Today, Helen reacted with an unmistakable manifestation of dizziness and mental depressiveness when Dr. Simpson mentioned the word table. I am convinced that the subject has reached the stage of complete susceptibility and receptiveness. Then I continued the experiment. I stared in the direction of the bedroom door and concentrated. I shut out every sight and sound and thought until I was oblivious to everything but the task at hand. Helen, there is a gun in the night table. In the night table, Helen. In the night table, a gun, Helen. In the night table, a gun. Helen.
Professor Baker.
Yes?
What are you doing?
Experimenting.
Where's Helen?
Lying down in the bedroom. Close the door, won't you?
Professor, what is this experiment?
It's a very simple experiment. I'm trying to reach a mind. Now, if you'll excuse me. Helen, there is a gun in the night table.
Stop it. Stop.
Why, you're shaking, Dr. Simpson.
What are you up to?
I'm simply trying to tell Helen there's a gun in the night table by her bed. And for her to...
To what?
To pick it up, enter this room, point the gun at me, and pull the trigger.
But why? Why?
What I'm trying to determine is whether one mind can influence another by exerting mental energy to do something the subject would normally recoil from doing.
Yes, go on.
In Helen's case, I'm sure that in her conscious hours, she would never even entertain the thought of shooting me. I'm trying to determine whether she can be made to do just that without her being aware that she is being impelled to do so.
Oh, but why? What would it prove?
Prove? Don't you see? If one mind can control another across space, think of the power men of goodwill can exercise over evil. It will at long last give man control over the rapacious breed that makes civilization a nightmare. The evil, power-hungry men who brainwash their countrymen into one war after another.
Professor, how long has this been going on?
For weeks. Every night. You recall Helen's depressiveness this evening? When you mentioned the word table?
You mean...
Yes. The reaction. Results. My mind is beginning to control her subconscious. You witnessed it, Philip. And now, have you the scientific integrity and the courage to witness the experiment carried through? I have conditioned her to come in when the clock strikes midnight. In a few minutes now.
What do you mean, do I have the courage?
Yes. To stand by and not interfere when or if she's about to pull the trigger to kill me.
You mean the gun is loaded?
Of course it is.
But why not blank bullets?
The experiment must be carried out with all factors of reality to eliminate all possibility of interference from her extrasensory perception.
I don't understand.
Don't you see? Her extrasensory perception could signal her subconscious mind that the gun is harmless, and the experiment would prove nothing.
Professor Baker, I simply cannot understand how a man like you, who's devoted 40 years to the science of physics, can suddenly, on retirement from scholastic life, devote all his time to such elusive matters as parapsychology, mental telepathy, clairvoyance, fantastic nonsense.
You sound very dogmatic for a man of science, Dr. Simpson.
With all due respect to your sincerity and your experiments, Professor Baker, the vast array of scientific knowledge still supports the theory that human behavior can be traced directly to the physical and chemical factors of the human body.
And you think Chi-Chi will convince me of that?
Precisely.
You allow for no distinction between man and the monkey?
None. Both are animals.
Listen to me, Philip. You've been trying to dissuade me. Oh, I'm quite aware of that. Now let me try to convince you.
All right, I'm listening.
From the time the British Society for Psychical Research was founded in 1882... right through the present worldwide experimentation to pierce the veil of the unknown, the one thing that has been missing is the willingness of scientists of unquestioned integrity to conduct their own experiments. The time has come, Philip, for researchers like you and me to settle once and for all what is or is not possible, is or is not true in paranormality.
If I consent to witness your experiment, will you promise me that if it fails, tonight, now, you will never again experiment with Helen's mind?
Yes. But, Philip, I can see you're still afraid that the experiment will succeed and that she could shoot me. I'll put you at ease. This gong that stopped her from pouring the coffee on the table. Here, you hold it. And if you think the situation warrants, strike the gong.
Very well. Proceed.
He stood by the door to the study, one hand holding the brass gong by its silk braid, his eyes watching the clock on the mantel as it started to strike midnight. Chi-Chi, awakened by the clock and our raised voices, was nervously pacing back and forth across the top of the back of the sofa. Philip watched the door. I sensed he was prepared if Helen failed to respond to the gong. He would strike the gun out of her hand. I resumed the experiment. Pick up the gun. Come into the study, Helen. The study, Helen. Helen walked in, her eyes fixed and staring, her arms at her side, her right hand slightly behind her, Philip, mouth open, unable to utter a word, watching her. Point the gun at me. Pull the trigger. Helen! Dr. Simpson dropped the gun. Rushed to me as I slumped over the desk.
Good God.
The bullet hit in my chest.
Helen! Towels, adhesive tape, it's a chest wound. Have to keep him from sucking in air.
He looked up from examining the wound. One glance told him she didn't hear or understand. He ran to the bathroom, got towels and the tape.
Helen, call an ambulance.
He moved me to the couch, pillows under my head, ripped open my shirt, pressed the towel on the wound, taped my chest to keep the pressure on the wound.
Call the ambulance, Helen.
She didn't respond. He seized the phone.
Put down the phone, Philip.
Helen. Helen, why are you pointing the gun at me? Put down the gun.
She lowered the gun to her side. He went to her. My eyes closed. I struggled against the blackness flooding my mind. I struggled as the blood trickled from my wound to listen.
Helen, don't you hear me? Answer me. Answer me!
Why did you slap me, Philip?
Helen, do you know what you've done?
Well, what have I done?
You've shot him.
Who?
Your husband, Professor Baker. We've got to call an ambulance, Helen. His pulse is...
Will Will he live?
The ambulance, Helen.
He won't live, will he? I can see it in your face, Philip. He won't live.
He'll die if he doesn't get to the operating room.
I want him to die.
What did you say?
I want him to die.
Well, I must say, I'm surprised, too. But then, Helen's probably like most women. Not always mean what they say or say what they mean, huh? Wonder what's really on her mind. But she's in good hands with a doctor in the house. I'll be back shortly with Act 3.
When you say Budweiser,
When you say Bud, you've said a lot of things nobody else can say. When you say Bud, you've gone as far as you can go to get the very best.
when you say Bud, you've said the word that means you like to do it all. When you say Bud, it means you want the beer that's got a taste that's number one. When you say Bud, you tell the world you know what makes it all the way. When you say Bud, you say you care enough to only want the king of beers. There is no other one. There's only something less. Because the king of beers is leading all the rest. When you say Budweiser,
You've said it all.
Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
People who fly a lot get to know the difference between one airline and another. And it's these frequent flyers who tell us they're more comfortable flying on TWA. What is comfort on an airplane? It's coach on our wide-body 1011, where all seats are two across. It's 1011 first class, where seats swivel around so you can talk or have dinner with friends. TWA Comfort is a roomy 747 with contoured seats you can sit in for 5 hours without getting fidgety. And Comfort is the TWA twin seat in 707 coach, which lets you fold down the middle section if nobody's there and sit two across instead of three. On long TWA flights, you'll also have a choice of meals and movies on movie flights. But above all, you'll be comfortable. That's what TWA Ambassador Service is all about.
Only TWA flies the wide-body 1011 to Los Angeles and the big comfortable 747 to San Francisco. Call your travel agent or TWA for reservations.
Well, it does seem we left both Helen and Dr. Simpson in a state of shock. Not to mention our bleeding Professor Baker and that hysterical Chi-Chi. Let's rejoin them and see whether there's help for any of them.
I don't want him to die.
Listen to me, Helen. You must let me call the ambulance. Don't you see? We must. If he dies here, the police will want to know why we didn't call the ambulance.
The police?
Yes, Helen, the police will want to know.
Oh, Philip. Hold me. I'm so mixed up.
Come. Sit down. Lean back. Just try to relax. Put the gun on the floor. I'll call the hospital.
St. Francis Hospital.
This is Dr. Philip Simpson.
Yes, doctor.
I need the ambulance trauma team at once. 47 Edgecliff Road. Critical chest wound. Gunshot.
Yes, doctor. I'll put it right through.
Now, I want you to call the police, Helen.
The police?
Yes, they'll be here soon anyway. They're always alerted about requests for an ambulance. But I want you to call them for the record. It will be important at the trial. I'll get them on the phone. You talk.
Police emergency, Sergeant Peters.
Oh, this is Mrs. William Baker, 47 Edgecliff Road. I want to report that I just shot my husband. What will I tell them when they get here,
You
Philip?
don't have to answer any questions tonight. I'll have the law firm of Kendall Prentice represent you. They're specialists in forensic medicine.
The Chinese gong in the dining room.
It's Chi-Chi, imitating what I did. Chi-Chi, stop that. You hear me? Stop that. Let me have it, Chi-Chi. Now come here. Drop it. Drop it. Let go of it, or I'll break your paw. Those Capuchin monkeys. They want to imitate every new thing they see. Chi-Chi, go sit down in that corner. Go on, and stay there. They're intelligent, but they can be very trying. Chi-Chi is acting strangely tonight. Usually obeys a command immediately.
Well, perhaps Chi-Chi's nervous system has been affected by what's happened here. Perhaps its brain has intercepted some of William's energy messages.
Nonsense, Helen. That's impossible. I mean, Chi-Chi can sense excitement and tension in a room, but as for intercepting Professor Baker's energy messages, I better check his pulse. It's weak. Very weak. What's keeping that anger?
Philip! Chi-Chi's got the gun!
Chi-Chi! Let me have that gun. Now, Chi-Chi, now you be a nice boy. Put the gun on the floor. Good boy. Thank you, Chi-Chi. Thank you. Now go back in the corner and please stay there. I'll put the gun in the desk. I think we both need a brandy. Would you like one, Helen?
Oh, yes, please.
Here, dear. Now just sip it. Tell me, Helen. Did you know what you were doing when you pulled the trigger?
What do you think, Philip?
I don't know what to think yet. You've got to tell me, Helen. Did you know what you were doing? You pulled the trigger after I struck the gong.
Yes, I know.
You knew? You deliberately murdered him.
Murder? I shot him because he told me to. He made me do it.
But if you knew what you were doing, the police will call it murder.
Look, I told you I knew what I was doing, but I won't tell the police.
What will you tell them?
That the experiment, the great Professor Baker's experiment, was a success.
Wait a minute, you knew about the experiment? You knew?
Yes, every step of it. I knew about the notebook. I read every entry, every day. I knew exactly what he was up to. The police will read the notebook, and they'll understand. They'll understand.
You murdered him. Helen.
I never loved him. I was beginning to hate him.
It doesn't matter now, Helen. I prefer to conclude that you did not know what you were doing, that the experiment did unbalance your mind. I think the district attorney will accept that.
Accept what, Philip?
That when you pulled that trigger, it was insanity.
Oh, no, I won't be declared insane. No. Look, I'll show them the notebook. They'll understand. They'll read it in his own handwriting. How night after night while I was asleep, he tried to make me shoot him. They'll understand. Unless you tell them differently. Unless you tell them I murdered him.
Helen, please listen to me. Try to understand what I'm telling you. The police will never believe that Professor Baker's experiment was a success. They'll call in scientists to testify that no such thing is possible. They'll suspect that you used your knowledge of the experiment to kill your husband.
Yes, but you were a witness. You can verify what happened.
Yes, but...
You tell them that I murdered him?
No, Helen. The only honest opinion I can give them is that your mind snapped. That day by day, the knowledge of your husband's secret experiment preyed on your mind, and you became convinced, in a moment of temporary insanity, that he really wanted you to kill him.
Will they believe that?
I hope the jury will.
Oh, help me, Philip. You must help me. I'm so tired. I'm so mixed up.
As I lay there on the couch, still, my eyes closed, aware that under the blanket, my blood was still slowly trickling into the towel, fighting against slipping off into unconsciousness. I could still hear their voices as from a great distance.
You must help me. I'm so tired. I'm so mixed
My
up.
poor darling.
And then I was aware of Chi-Chi at the side of the couch, bending over me, its breath close to my face. My eyelids, heavy with weariness, lifted slightly, and through the thin slit of vision, I saw Chi-Chi's plastic skull. I could see plainly through the plastic skull the gray mass of nerve tissue of the cerebellum. And then, summoning every last bit of strength of will, I concentrated on Chi-Chi's brain. Chi-Chi, the gun, in the desk, Chi-Chi.
What have I done, Phyllis? You too. It will ruin your career.
Go to the desk, Chi-Chi. In the drawer, the gun. I could see its gray eyes staring at me, trying to grasp what I was telling him. And then he jumped on the desk, pulled open the drawer, and took out the gun.
Chi-Chi! Put it down, Chi-Chi!
Philip charged to the desk. Chi-Chi eluded him, leaped to the mantel over the fireplace.
Drop the gun, Chi-Chi. Drop it!
Philip chased it all over the room. It knocked over table lamps. It jumped to the hanging ceiling light fixture, waving the gun playfully. Chi-Chi, point the gun at the mirror. At the mirror, Chi-Chi.
Drop it! Drop it!
Give me the gun, Chi-Chi.
At the mirror, pull the trigger.
Give me the gun, Chi-Chi.
Helen was reaching towards Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi was pointing the gun at her. I didn't want Helen to die. I summoned every last ounce of will and sent a mental message to Chi-Chi. Drop the gun, Chi-Chi. Drop the gun.
Look out, Helen! Good Lord. Helen. Helen. Answer me.
She didn't have a chance. She was shot in the head.
Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling.
You must not die, Helen. You must not die. Helen, I love you.
Oh, my darling.
Chi-Chi was at the door at the garden in a panic, trying to open the door, the gun still in his hand. Philip grabbed the fireplace poker, swung it on Chi-Chi's plastic skull. It glanced off and fell out of his hand. Philip picked up a chair, threw it at Chi-Chi with all the strength of his fury. It crashed through the glass. Chi-Chi jumped through the opening. Philip picked up the poker, went after Chi-Chi. I could hear Philip chasing him across the flagstones of the patio. I heard the police car. I could hear Philip shout.
Chi-Chi!
Then all was still. Deathly still. I lost consciousness until I became aware of someone talking on the telephone.
Yes, Lieutenant. Two Mrs. Bakers in the house, and Dr. Philip Simpson in the woods back of the house. Yeah, one bullet in each of them. John says Dr. Simpson was pretty far gone when he found him. Says he tried to tell him something. John thinks it was something about a monkey still running around out there with a loaded gun. It beats me too, Lieutenant. No, nothing else. Oh, yes, we found a black skull cap hanging on the chandelier. That's what I said, skull cap. Odd-shaped thing. We can't figure out what it's for, no. Right. Oh, better get that ambulance out here fast. Professor may still have a chance. Here it comes now, Lieutenant.
That's how it happened. Exactly how it happened. The police are still puzzled. Chi-Chi will probably find roaming the woods the gun somewhere nearby. Chi-Chi did it. Tell the police Chi-Chi did it. Why? Perhaps it was mimicking Helen after it witnessed her shooting me. I shall never know. As for whether my wife murdered me willfully, or suffered temporary insanity, or was influenced by my mental energy, you must judge for yourself after you read the full record of the experiment in the notebook. Yes. Go tell the police and Professor Seligson. You can locate him through the American Society of University Professors. Tell them I decided to communicate the foregoing just an hour ago when I heard the operating team give me up.
And they say men tell no tales. Talking about the brain, though, let me give you men a tip. If your wife is trying to talk you to death, don't worry. Master the secret of mind over chatter. But seriously, a guy I know didn't even answer his wife. She threatened to divorce him because he was unsociable. So he hit her over the head with a mashie. Told the jury he wanted to be clubby. I'll be back shortly.
Amco Transmissions, may we help you?
I hope so. My frisky Ford is making funny noises.
Oh, like what?
Like this.
Hey, that's great.
You mean everything's okay?
No, I was admiring your car sounds. As for your Ford, ma'am, well, I'd have to look at it to tell you exactly what's wrong. But I can say of the 3 million automatic transmissions Amco serviced, over 900,000 of them were Fords.
You can cure my buzzes?
Oh, you bet. We've gotten stranger sounds than that out of
Ford, Torino, and the Maverick, and the Mustang, and the Pinto, and the LTD.
Rest assured, we'll get rid of your buzzes.
Oh, terrific. I'll zoom. Excuse me. Right down.
Nobody knows your automatic transmission better than Amco. AA MCO.
There are over 500 AMCO centers coast to coast. Consult your yellow pages for the AMCO center near you. AA MCO. AMCO.
Our cast included Roger DeKoven, Bryna Rayburn, and Nat Polen. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. Radio Mystery Theater was sponsored in part by Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, brewers of Budweiser. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
The WOR Mystery Theater was brought to you by ShopRite Supermarkets, where you get a lot more for a little less, and by Suburban Savings with offices throughout North Jersey. The preceding Mystery Theater program was furnished by the CBS Radio Network.
I'm Fulton Lewis in the Mutual Broadcasting System studios in Washington, D.C. Now, my commentary. The staff of the Senate Watergate Committee says that the weight of the evidence before it tends to establish that former Attorney General John Mitchell did approve the plans that led to the original Watergate break-in. Convicted Watergate conspirator G. Gordon Liddy is alleged to have used large sums of money provided by the Committee for Re-election of the President to finance that break-in and the wiretapping at the Democratic National Committee headquarters in the Watergate Hotel and office complex here in Washington. A draft report of the Watergate staff's conclusions also said that available facts can only support the conclusion that payments made to the Watergate defendants by White House aides were intended only to keep them silent as to the involvement of other persons in the Watergate break-in or other activities embarrassing to the White House. All those conclusions were made available by a source close to the committee who emphasized that they are based on a rough draft prepared mainly by Watergate Committee Counsel Samuel Dash and do not represent any final conclusions that the 7 senators on the panel may eventually draw. The draft report states, the committee finds that the weight of the evidence tends to establish that former Attorney General John Mitchell did approve the Liddy intelligence plan with a $250,000 budget in Key Biscayne on March 30th of 1972. The draft report also states that the staff has found no evidence to support President Nixon's claims. As reported in his statement of May 22, 1973, that he personally withdrew his approval of a widespread and covert intelligence gathering plan authored by White House aide Tom Charles Houston. But the staff report said that the Houston plan, which called for the creation of an interagency domestic intelligence unit authorized to commit break-ins and even open private mail and plant listening devices, was never, according to the committee records, never implemented. The staff report also said no legal justification on national security grounds could be found for the burglary of the office of the psychiatrist of Pentagon Papers burglar, Dr. Daniel Ellsberg. The draft reports of the staff finds it difficult to accept the claim of former White House domestic advisor John Ehrlichman that the Ellsberg break-in was not carried out without his express knowledge and authorization. The 170-page draft report will be discussed by the 7 Watergate senators in an executive session on Thursday morning. The public issuance of that report today by the staff member, though,
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome to another world. A world of suspense. A world of the unexpected. And a world where fantasy and reality may often wear the same face. We are told the truth shall make you free. However, in certain situations, the truth can send you to jail. And so it's all a matter of what freedom really means, not to mention what truth really means. For Eleanor Hartley, this is no philosophical, theological, or intellectual exercise. It has become suddenly a tangible and terrible fact of life. Our mystery drama, A Tiny Drop of Poison, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Tammy Grimes. It is sponsored in part by Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, brewers of Budweiser, and by the Kellogg Company, makers of Kellogg's Special K cereal. I'll be back shortly with Act 1.
You don't see many people putting salt in their beer nowadays. Not that there's anything wrong with salt on radishes or French fries, but man, not in the king of beers. Truth is, the only thing salt can do for Budweiser is make it salty. An unwise thing to do to the only beer in America that's Beechwood aged. Unsalted Budweiser has become the most popular beer in the world. And that's because in brewing Bud, the Budweiser brewmaster goes all the way for a taste, a smoothness, a drinkability you'll find in no other beer at any price. And something else you can take without a grain of salt. The fact that when you say Budweiser, you've said it all. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
Dreaming about becoming richer? Why not wake up richer every day? At Suburban Savings in North Jersey, getting richer is an everyday reality because Suburban has put into effect higher effective returns. Suburban's limited issue 7.50% savings certificate has an annual effective yield of 7.90%, and Suburban guarantees it from 4 to 10 years with a minimum investment of $2,500. You'll sleep a lot more soundly knowing your savings are earning more money at Suburban Savings. So sleep on Suburban's high effective return tonight and come into any of Suburban's convenient offices tomorrow in Bayonne, Edgewater, Elmwood Park, Emerson, Hackettstown, Morris Plains, Nutley, Paramus, and Sparta. Early withdrawal prior to maturity is, according to regulations, subject to a substantial penalty.
There's simply no way of knowing. So often, a fateful day will begin quietly, prosaically, with absolutely no hint that the steady pace of the commonplace is destined to quicken or falter. with no intimation that today a die will irrevocably be cast, and henceforward our lives will change forever, or even cease to exist. A day like this has dawned for Eleanor Hartley, but she doesn't know it yet. Eleanor Hartley, at 32, she has it all. Looks, brains, personality, and a mission in life that seems certain of fulfillment. And on this day, this particular day, Eleanor Hartley is in a recording studio making a very important statement.
The principal issue, the primary issue, the overriding, indeed the only issue, is morality. Do you or do you not? Can you or can you not trust your elected representatives?
Okay, Eleanor, thanks. We got it.
But I haven't finished.
That's all we need.
Tom, I intend to run my own campaign.
Absolutely. Maury, don't edit any of this stuff now. Grab a portable rig and come on with us. We're going to the Madison Beach Club.
Just a minute. I have no intention of going to the...
You know, we didn't even drink our coffee. Why don't we just relax for a couple of minutes?
Mr. Caldwell, I think it's time we reached an understanding.
I thought we understood each other all along. You want some sugar?
I agreed to run for Congress because a group of concerned citizens asked me.
Well, they did.
And I thought it would be that simple. Why do I have to go to the Madison Beach Club?
You want to talk to people? That's where thousands of them are. Also, you look great in a bikini.
I think that's dishonest.
Why? It's your very own body. Is it your fault that it's more attractive than your opponent's, who happens to be a bald, paunchy old party hack?
Oh, why can't politics be simple?
You know, it's been such a morning. Didn't even get a chance to see the papers. Oh, look, right here. Right here on page 1. This is what the game is all about.
What?
Look, we got some more results from the surveys. You have gone up 7 points in the last week.
That's not very much.
Are you kidding? An unknown running against Big Jim Parkhurst, an entrenched incumbent? The way you're gathering momentum, we are in. Look, Eleanor, I have to know something.
What?
Big Jim is going to take you seriously from now on.
I should hope so.
Things may get rough.
I'm not afraid.
You don't know what rough is. You don't know how Parkhurst's people will probe and pry and dig. So, if there's anything in your past, anything at all...
What are you trying to say?
By now, Parkhurst has unleashed the hounds. They'll examine your life from the day you were born.
I have nothing to hide.
Good.
That is...
Yeah?
No. No one would ever come up with anything to embarrass me.
The year you were 22?
What about that year?
Eleanor, we can't account for it.
What are you talking about?
Well, we've checked you through school. We've checked you through college.
You mean you've actually investigated me?
Of course. When you were 23, you married Ted, and the past 5 years have been an open book. But that whole year, while you were 22...
Yes. Well, like so many kids who get out of college, I was at loose ends. Didn't know what I wanted. So, I just took off. I traveled around the country. I was just trying to find myself. And I did. And that's all there was to it.
Okay. Come on, finish your coffee and we're off. Hey,
what?
Look at that. Oh, no, it's just nothing. It's just an article here.
Which article?
Oh, it's got nothing to do with politics. I just happen to know this guy.
Who?
Oh, some guy. He was killed about 5 years ago. Murdered one night. Nobody knew why or by whom. Well, this sure throws a new light on the case. Turns out he was a foreign agent. Who'd ever thought that Paul Grover could turn out to be a foreign
What did you say his name was?
Grover, Paul Grover. Why, did you know him?
Grover. No, I never knew anyone.
Go figure some people.
Tom?
Something the matter?
I don't feel good. Got a headache. Maybe I better go home. I'll rest for a while.
Eleanor, what's the matter?
I told you I have a headache.
Okay. It's a woman's privilege.
Hi there, Congresswoman.
Hi there, Detective.
Get any votes today?
A few. You catch any crooks?
No. I'm on a whole new thing. Sherlock Ted Hartley, that's me. I draw all the weird ones. This was a guy named Paul Grover.
Grover?
How do you like this? He was murdered 5 years ago, buried and forgotten. Now it's suddenly wide open again. You know why?
Tom showed it to me in the morning paper.
He was a spy. Which means we have to find out who killed him.
Wasn't it always important to find out?
Well, now more than ever. The information we have now is that he was ready to come over to our side and spill what he knew.
But, isn't this out of your,
The Federals asked us to cooperate. So the old man called me in and said, Ted, go get him.
Oh.
I'm a victim of my own reputation. So now I have to lone wolf around and try to sniff out a case that's 5 years old. Let's eat in tonight.
Okay.
It's a rare night I have you all to myself.
Maybe I should never have gone into politics.
What are you talking about? Here you are, a cop's wife.
You're more than just a cop.
And you're more than just a wife. It's one of those crazy things. You're going to go to Congress.
I have to be elected first.
Oh, baby, you're home free. My career took off the day I married you.
Oh, come on, Ted.
No, I was always a good detective, but in the last 5 years, you'd be surprised how many ideas I got from you. You really taught me how to think.
What do the police know about the murder?
Well, just about zero. They figured Grover stopped for a hitchhiker because when he left his office to drive home, he was alone. They found his car at the side of the road, and he was about 30 feet away, stabbed to death. Funny guy. Lived all alone, no friends, just people who knew him casually.
Well, after all this time, how can you expect to find the killer?
Oh, I'll find the killer, whoever he is. At least that's what I keep telling myself.
I looked at Ted. If he's determined to get the killer of Paul Grover, eventually he will. And I don't know what to do. Should I tell him now? Suppose I did. What would he do about it? But why? Why should I tell him? He can never find out. For all his skill, experience, instinct, he could never find out. No one could find out. It all happened 5 years ago. When I was someone else, drifting about in another world. How could anyone ever link me to Paul Grover? There were no clues. No one ever saw us together. No one saw it happen. No one. Thanks for picking me up, mister.
Grover. Paul Grover. What are you doing out all alone this time of night?
Oh, I just feel like walking, moving.
You, one of them hippies?
What's in a name?
Talking about names. What's yours?
Eleanor.
Eleanor what?
What does it matter?
Okay. How'd you like some supper?
That would be, welcome.
I know a nice little place just off the state highway here.
You're very kind, Mr. Grover. Very kind. Why are we stopping?
Oh, well, I figured before supper we...
We what?
Well, let me put it this way. You want your supper, you gotta sing for it.
Take your arm away.
Hey, now listen.
Don't you touch me.
Who are you kidding? I know your kind. Hey, you come back here.
Let go of me, let go.
What are you fighting me for? Girl like you don't care, and I'm even willing to pay.
Help!
Scream all. Scream all you want. Who's going to hear you? Okay, you asked for this.
No, please, put that knife away.
You quit scratching and slapping. You just behave yourself, and you just do as I tell you, and you won't get hurt.
I'll go to the police.
Yeah, who'd believe you? Who'd take your word against mine? I'll say you're trying to frame me. You'll go to jail. Now, come on, honey, be nice. I'll even give you money.
All right. I'll be nice.
Don't you try to run away now. I'm holding this knife.
Sure.
Well, now you're talking.
Drop it.
You break my arm.
That's right. That's the way I was taught. Drop the knife.
I'll kill you.
Drop it. I told you. I told you to drop the knife, but you wouldn't.
I don't want to die.
Mr. Grover. Mr. Grover, I'm sorry, Mr. Grover. But what was I supposed to do? You wanted to kill me. What was I supposed to do? He was dead. The knife somehow had been turned against his own body. I just stood there. I remember now. I wondered why I didn't panic. But I was cool. I made sure to leave nothing behind me. Not in the car. Not anywhere around. There was no blood on my clothes. And so, I just walked away. I walked away into the night. And no one saw me. No one had seen me get into his car. No one saw me kill him. No one saw me leave. Nowhere does any shred or scrap of evidence exist to link Eleanor Daly. Now, Eleanor Hartley to Paul Grover.
Well, she certainly told it the way it was. But is it true that there are really no clues? Perhaps there are no fingerprints or bloodstains, but how about other clues? Stronger clues. The clues that exist in the mind, the heart, the conscience. We may find a few of those when I return shortly with Act 2.
Great taste in the morning. Kellogg's has that wholesome taste to get you up and grinning.
This is Jerry Coffer for Kellogg's Special K. We've been having some fun in our television and radio commercials by using a ball and chain to symbolize the slight overweight problem common to so many of us. We point out that being a few pounds overweight is just a little more difficult for you. Climbing stairs, just walking around, even sitting down can feel, well, like you're wearing a ball and chain. In case you missed the message, it's this. If you really want to get rid of that extra weight, you really have to work at it by exercising and with sensible meals like the Special K breakfast. A 1-ounce bowl of Special K, America's favorite high-protein cereal, 4 ounces of skim milk, tomato juice, and coffee. Less than 240 calories. Nutritious and, by the way, delicious. So why not begin each day with a Special K breakfast and then keep up the good work? Special K can't help you lose weight all by itself, but it really is a good start.
Hey, Mom, what's for dinner? Hey, Mom, what you got?
What's for dinner? Your ShopRite is featuring ShopRite or Shenandoah brand Grade A Rock Cornish hens. A real family treat at just 47 cents a pound. What's for breakfast? Listen to these ShopRite values. ShopRite Grade A large eggs, 59 cents a dozen. ShopRite sliced bacon, 1 pound package, 79 cents. ShopRite Grade AA butter, 1 pound brick, 69 cents. Crown Top white bread, 22-ounce loaves, 3 for $1. Save on every meal at ShopRite.
She loves her family. She wants the best. She does all that she can do. She lets ShopRite do the rest. Hey, Ma, what's for dinner? ShopRite has the answer.
The Talk of New York, WOR, your mystery theater station.
They are a most unusual and attractive young couple, Ted and Eleanor Hartley. Ted is a brilliant detective on the city police force. Eleanor is so bright and sincere and articulate that a citizens committee has asked her to run for Congress. Eleanor is busy with her campaign. Ted is busy trying to track down a murderer. This sounds like two different stories, but actually, it's really one story, because the killer Tom is looking for happens to be Eleanor.
No, don't. Let me go, let me go. I'll kill you, Mr. Grover. Kill you.
Eleanor, darling. Eleanor, darling, wake up, wake up.
What? I must have had a nightmare.
You were muttering and mumbling the craziest things.
I think it's just I've been working too hard.
Darling, you don't have to put so much into it. There are lots of people working for you.
I want to be elected, Ted. I feel I could do so much good.
Sure.
I feel I owe something.
You owe something? What?
I feel I have a debt. I have to make up for something.
What?
Oh, well, once I did someone an injury.
Who?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, but if it bothers you...
This person had it coming.
Then forget it.
It's not that easy.
Want to talk about it?
No. Part of our bargain, remember? We'd never press each other for details about what happened before we met each other.
Well, I'd say overall it's a good bargain, but... Tell me, did I bother you with this Grover case?
Bother me?
Yeah, your nightmare. You were mumbling, but you don't want to talk about it.
No, I'll talk about it if you want. I remember reading... It was such a messy murder.
I have to find the killer, no matter how long it takes.
I'm scared because I know Ted means it. He never quits. He'll stay with it forever. I don't know what to do, but how can I tell him? How can I confess? It was self-defense, but it'll be the end. Not just the end of my career, but the end between Ted and me. For my part, I offer you a dedication to the truth. I will follow the truth, wherever it may lead. I will seek the truth, whomever it may hurt. What we need in our lives today, at every level, is the truth. The truth, unvarnished, stark, simple. Thank you.
Come on, we have to go. Come on.
How did it sound, Tom?
We'll sneak down the back stairs. You're due on the south side in 15 minutes. There's the car.
You didn't tell me how it sounded, Tom.
Yeah, I know I didn't. What's the matter, Eleanor?
The matter?
Yeah, with you. The speech. There's something missing.
Oh. What?
I don't know. Let's say some of the fire was out. Anything wrong?
Nothing, Tom.
Having a bit of a tiff with Ted?
Ted is absolutely in favor of my running.
So what's wrong?
Why do you insist something's wrong?
Your speech. I didn't believe a word of it.
Why?
Because it was obvious to me that you didn't mean a word of it either.
But
Eleanor, something is wrong. Something has been just a little off-key all week. Now, why didn't you tell me about it?
Tom, I wish you'd believe me. Everything's just fine.
Yeah?
I mean it.
Well, if everything's just fine, why are you so pale and why are you perspiring?
Tom...
Then there is something.
Tom, there's nothing we can talk about.
But it's serious.
Yes, serious.
Eleanor, if it should ever come out...
It can never come out, Tom, believe me.
Eleanor...
Please, Tom, don't ask me any more questions. Please.
Sure. Okay. But whatever it is, I'm in your corner. I'll back you. I'll fight for you no matter what you did. Even if you committed murder.
I can't believe we have a free afternoon.
Not Ted. You've been busier than I have.
Well, that's true. I'm the one who's been doing the neglecting. Guilty. I even got you out here on false pretenses. I'm working.
Working?
Mm-hmm. I said, let's park the car and go for a little walk in the country, but right here is the site.
What site?
The site of the murder. The Paul Grover murder. Right here, past this tree.
Ted,
Huh? What is it, darling?
Something about this place.
What if you want to leave?
No, after all, if you want me to help you.
Right here, past this tree, is where he drove off the road.
To, pick up a hitchhiker.
No. I don't buy that story anymore.
Why not?
There was another car.
Oh?
There were tire marks about 50 feet south of here where another car pulled off the road.
But, didn't the police know this 5 years ago?
Oh, sure. It was in the report, but the police are like everyone else. We have a considerable body of knowledge, but we only use what seems relevant at the time.
You think there was another car involved?
That's right. Someone met him here and killed him. It has to be that way, because he was being set up. So you see, I've got some clues. I have those tire marks. They made a mold 5 years ago. And I've got this little button made of bone. It was clutched in Grover's hand. You take a look at it.
I looked. It was a little button. The sleeve button. From a corduroy jacket. One of the host of buttons that adorned that jacket. The jacket I had worn that night. There were so many buttons. I never even noticed the one that was missing. That jacket. I still have it. I don't wear it often, but I still have it. It's in one of my closets. What you're saying is that if you can find the jacket it came from, you've got your killer.
That's right. I've got him.
Him?
Well, it's from a man's type field jacket, very popular about 5 years ago, although lots of people wore them. I think you've got one like it back home. Anyhow, there was a fight. Grover was stabbed. The killer took the money.
But I didn't...
I didn't what?
I didn't know that robbery was the motive. Wasn't it supposed to have been a secret agent thing?
I figure a hired killer. But he was stupid enough to pick up some loose bills. That should hang him.
Are you sure?
You know what else I've got? I found a witness. There's a little restaurant a couple of miles down the state highway.
Certainly, I don't mind telling you the story again. There was this young man who came in here that night.
How can you remember so far back?
Oh, Mr. Grover was a steady customer, was a good customer, so I remember what happened the night he died. Yes, he was a good customer, but he put ketchup on everything. Anyway, on that night, this young fellow, he comes in, he was wearing a corduroy jacket and denim pants.
Why did you notice him?
Well, you see, he ordered a steak, and then he pays with a $10 bill, and there's blood on the bill.
Blood?
Yeah, so I says to him, this looks like blood. He says, does it? And I says, how did blood get on this bill? And he says, maybe it's blood money. He takes his change, gives me $1 tip, and leaves.
Why didn't you tell this to the police?
They never asked. Would you believe that this lieutenant here is the first policeman that's walked into my restaurant since it happened 5 years ago?
And can you describe him, Hugo?
I have never forgotten him. He was a big man, 6 foot tall, about 200 pounds. He had black hair, brown eyes, a big scar on the left side of his chin, and the tip of his left pinky finger was missing.
Thanks, Hugo.
Oh, no, sir, yeah, don't mention it, Lieutenant. As far as the wife is concerned, madam, if I get up early on election day, I might even vote for you.
You would? Why?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that's why.
What?
Well, you see, you tell the average politician that you're going to vote for him. He shakes your hand. He looks sincere. He says, thank you. You look sort of surprised. You say, why? That is honest. It shows you're honest, and that's something.
Hi, Eleanor.
Come in, Tom.
Got here as soon as I could. Something wrong?
Nothing's wrong. Or maybe everything's wrong.
Okay, Eleanor, spill it. I don't care what you have to tell me. I don't care how bad it is. Let's get it out of the way.
You carry the thing around with you, Tom. You justify it. You say there was no help for it. It wasn't your fault. Why should you pay for it? But it doesn't let you alone. Whether you admit it or not, it keeps building inside of you, and you feel you just have to tell someone.
I understand. Everyone has his own little secret.
This isn't a little secret, Tom. Funny, isn't it? Of all the people I know, I feel I can only tell you.
What about Ted?
No, I can't tell Ted.
Does it concern another man?
Yes, but not the way you might think.
Okay. We had to come to this point, you and I, Eleanor, because, well, we're going places together.
I know.
Eleanor, 10, 15 years from now, you could become president of the United States.
Oh, Tom. Oh, Tom. Thank you. Oh, I needed a laugh.
Why are you laughing? Sooner or later, we'll have a woman president. Why not you?
Dream on, Tom Caldwell. Dream on.
For all of them, it began with a dream. So ask yourself, why not you? You'll be 40ish, even more beautiful than you are now. Wiser, more experienced. Now, what could hold you back?
Oh, excuse me. Hello?
Darling?
Ted, where are you?
At police headquarters. I won't be home until late.
Can't it wait?
No. I have to do it now because I just brought in my prisoner.
Who?
The killer. You know, the guy that murdered Paul Grover.
The man who murdered Grover? Can you be sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. We got him cold. Is it possible? Can two people have murdered Paul Grover? We know of one, but who is the other? Can there be another? Maybe it's possible to murder a man twice. We will deal with a number of interesting possibilities when I return shortly with Act 3.
Oh, sure. You can talk about good-tasting diet drinks, but I know. I'm Goldilocks, and here at my taste-testing laboratory, I taste-test them all. And nobody's been drinking my diet drinks until I tested sugar-free Diet 7-Up. And then, kabloomy! Every bear wanted some. Diet 7-Up is fresh, natural, delicious. Sugar-free Diet 7-Up. This one's just right.
Hello, Amco. My automatic transmission just got automaticing. I was wondering, do you service Chevrolets?
Do we service those sensational Chevrolets? Ma'am, Amco has serviced over 3 million automatic transmissions of all kinds. Nearly 900,000 Chevrolets alone.
Ooh.
Do we service Chevrolets? George, pitch pipe, please.
Chevy Nova and Impala and the Bel Air and Camaro and the Chevy too.
Oh, my.
Yep, we know 'em. Every Chevrolet automatic make and model on the road today, from the oldest Biscayne to a bright, spanky Caprice. By the way, what sort of Chevy did you say you had?
A Chevy Mustang.
Well, no matter. Nobody knows your automatic transmission better than Amco. AA MCO.
There are over 500 AMCO centers coast to coast. Consult your yellow pages for the AMCO center near you. AA MCO. AMCO.
Although once is usually par for the course, it does appear that some people can be murdered twice. 5 years ago, Eleanor Hartley was forced to kill a man in self-defense. And now it develops that the police have evidence against another killer. And Eleanor Hartley, whose horizons are unlimited, now has to make a crucial decision.
Everything all right with Ted?
Yes. Just fine. They got the killer.
Killer?
The one who murdered that, Paul Grover.
Oh, that's great. Well, Ted is really a great detective. Who's the suspect?
I didn't ask.
It'll probably be in the news. Okay, Eleanor, I'm waiting.
Tom, I don't want to lose everything. Why should I lose everything?
You won't lose anything.
Don't say that.
Is it that bad?
Yes.
Well, it'll have to come out.
No, it won't.
Eleanor, Big Jim is out to get you. He'll stop at nothing. Whatever it is, believe me, sooner or later he'll uncover.
No, he can't. No one can. Only I know.
Eleanor, there is no way out except the truth.
You're wrong, Tom. There's another way out. And it turned up for me tonight. So, the problem is solved. It's settled. It no longer exists.
Eleanor,
No, Tom. I've pulled myself together. I realize the stakes I'm playing for. It simply will not bother me anymore.
You say that so easily.
It's a matter of alternatives. What will be best for everyone in the long run?
Well, I don't know what it is, but I sure hope you can live with it.
I've lived with it for 5 years. I can live with it forever. I'll have to. Ted?
Oh, I'm sorry. I woke you.
Did you think I could fall asleep? Tell me everything. Who is he?
Vince Perry. Very bad boy. He's had quite a career. 5 or 6 years ago, he was just a punk. Now he was on his way to being number one in narcotics in this town.
But, you've got him for murder. How did you? Well, after all, 5 years ago, the police couldn't get anywhere.
Well, I had one break. That little restaurant. I guess the detectives never went there last time. It is an out-of-the-way place, but...
But why didn't Hugo come forward?
Hugo represents a large group of people. Guys like Hugo simply don't volunteer.
But all Hugo gave you was the description.
It was enough. It told me it was Vince Perry.
But the description, is it enough?
2 other things put him on the scene. The tire marks. They're a very special Italian tire. I checked back. I found out that Vince Perry had come into some money, bought an imported custom Italian car.
Oh.
And the button. I made the rounds of clothing stores all around his neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Found out where he bought most of his clothes. Guy checked back through his records, and sure enough, Vince had bought a corduroy jacket with that type of button.
Would all that be enough?
The description, the button, the cast the cops took of the tires 5 years ago. Plus, well, I shouldn't say that.
What?
Plus the fact he looks like a killer. Has a bad reputation. Well, we don't have to worry about him anymore.
Why did you say that? Who was worrying about him?
Well, I'm sorry. Did I say something wrong?
No, let me just swallow this.
Now, wait a minute. What's with the pills?
I need something to help me sleep.
But you never took pills before.
I've never been under this kind of pressure before.
Well, why should you be under pressure?
You don't understand politics.
I thought the idea was just for you to get up and tell the truth.
It's more complicated.
Because you make it more complicated.
Well, you don't know what a strain
We're fighting.
Hurst himself.
Do I have to meet him?
He's really a very nice guy.
He's a thief.
Oh, and this morning I've arranged for you to visit Vince Perry.
Vince Perry?
Yeah, in his cell.
Why would I...
Calm down.
How could you even suggest...
Look at it this way. You have to do me a favor because I have to do Charlie Colligan a favor.
Who's
Charlie Colligan?
Who?
Your worthy opponent, Big Jim Parkhurst himself.
Do I have to meet him?
He's really a very nice guy.
He's a thief.
Oh, and this morning I've arranged for you to visit Vince Perry.
Vince Perry?
Yeah, in his cell.
Why would I...
Calm down.
How could you even suggest...
Look at it this way. You have to do me a favor because I have to do Charlie Colligan a favor.
Who's
Charlie Colligan? He'll deliver the vote for you in the 4th Ward.
This is the kind of politics that I intend to fight.
No, my dear, these are the kind of politics that I shield you from. Vince Perry just wants to see you.
Why?
Well, it'll be a very private meeting. Nobody will even know you were there.
Why?
Colligan owes him a favor.
Do you mean to tell me that if I refuse to see this gangster, I can lose the 4th Ward?
It's not that simple, that open and shut. But elections have been lost by 1 vote.
Well, let's get it over with.
Well, nice of you to show up, Congresswoman.
I haven't been elected yet.
Oh, I hear it's in a bag.
I only came as a favor to a good friend.
Now, you're getting the hang of politics. That's what it's all about, no? Favors.
I agreed to come to your cell on 2 conditions. A, it would be kept secret. B, I would do nothing that's foreign to my principles.
Okay. Let's find out what your principles are. Let's see if you want to start out by doing the right thing.
What do you know about the right thing?
I know this. The right thing would be for you to confess to the murder of Paul Grover.
What did you say?
Come on, you know what I said. You know why I said it? You killed Paul Grover. I seen you do it.
That's a lie.
Here's the way it was. Now, I get the contract to knock him off. I followed him in my car. I figured I'd bag him after he came out of that restaurant. But first, he stops and picks you up. Then, after a couple of minutes, he stops again. So, I stopped. I heard it all. I seen it all. I let you go. Why not, huh? You did my job for me. And I never forgot what you looked like.
You can't prove a word of it.
I'm in the spot you were in when he tried to attack you. Now, nobody would have believed you then. Nobody would believe me now.
What do you expect me to do?
Like I say, the right thing. There's two kinds of people, honest folks and thieves. Now, there's a law. The honest folks obey it, period. The thieves break it. I'm a thief. What are you?
Eleanor, I don't think you two have ever met. I'd like to present you to your opponent, Congressman Jim Parkhurst.
How do you do?
Well, so you're Eleanor Hartley. Well, now I know why I'm going to lose. You're even prettier in person.
I think I'll leave you two to chat. Excuse me.
Are you already conceding, Congressman?
Oh, sure. My time's run out.
Really? But you're running a very aggressive campaign.
Well, you kill a snake, the body can still wiggle. No, dear, I've had it. The voters are wise to me.
You know, I always thought you were an ogre, and you are, but a very charming ogre.
Eleanor, let me give you a word of advice.
Advice?
Best in the world, because it's advice I never followed myself. Now, when I became aware of you for the first time, you broke my heart.
How?
I saw you as I was, 30 years ago, filled with spirit, sincerity, a desire to find the truth and work for it.
Really?
Yeah, sounds strange coming from me, doesn't it? Well, just remember, it doesn't happen all at once. You wake up one day and, well, yes, you're a crook. You're dishonest. You betray your constituents.
Now, you're not really that bad.
My dear, I'm worse. It starts with the first lie, the first deal. That's when you swallow that first tiny drop of poison. Remember that. Have you tasted yours yet? No, don't answer. Just think about it.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you.
Well, I know you'll have a highly successful career because you're a very honest little lady. You might even become president. Good luck.
Well, what did you think of Big Jim?
Tom, I want to do something, but I need your advice. I want to make a statement. It's something that is true, but it would end my career.
Then why make it?
Because it's the right thing to do. Ted, what are you typing?
How was the big luncheon?
Oh, the usual. What are you typing?
Here, want to read it?
To Chief of Detectives, dear Inspector Summerfield, please accept my resignation from the police force. Ted, what's this?
Oh, I don't know. I just don't want to be a cop any longer.
Why? Why?
Well, look, you'll be going to Washington.
I thought we...
Why do I have to be a cop all my life? Why can't I try something else?
Because, Ted, for you there is nothing else.
Look, let it go.
Ted, I love you.
I love you, too.
What do you want me to do?
About what?
You know. How long have you known?
How long have I known what?
When did you first find out that I killed Paul Grover?
The first night I got the assignment. You told me about it in your sleep. You were having a nightmare, but you told me. And every night since then, in your sleep, you kept telling me. The buttons missing from your jacket in the closet.
Why didn't you arrest me?
How could I? Why should I? Besides, this is the perfect setup for Vince Perry. He's a rat. We're better off without him.
Yes.
And Paul Grover would have been killed by him an hour later. Why should your life be ruined? It's better this way. We need you more than Vince Perry. And it was self-defense anyhow.
Then why do you want to resign from the force?
Because I just made my first deal. I've taken the first drop of poison.
Someone else said that to me earlier.
I'll stop now before I become the kind of cop I have no use for. Hey, what are you doing?
You can't resign, Ted. You're going to make an arrest.
No, I won't. I can't.
You can. You must. I've taken the first drop, too. And I can't live with it either. Please, Ted.
But it'll be the end.
No, Ted. It won't. You'll see. It'll be the beginning.
It was quite an unusual arrest and an unusual confession, an unusual trial, and a rather unusual verdict. Not guilty. It would be nice to be able to say that she was elected, but no, there is a limit to the unusual. A pity. I'll be back shortly.
Hi, Ms. Goldilocks here. Professionally taste-testing diet drinks can be very difficult, but I've just had to bear with it. Then I found sugar-free Diet 7-Up. It doesn't taste like other diet drinks. It's fresh, light, natural, delicious. Sugar-free Diet 7-Up tastes so good that I've taste-tested it hundreds of times, and each time I've given it my seal of approval. Yes, this one's just right.
Our cast included Tammy Grimes, Paul Hecht, Robert Dryden, and Earl Hammond. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. Radio Mystery Theater was sponsored in part by new sugar-free Diet 7-Up. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
The WOR Mystery Theater was brought to you by ShopRite Supermarkets, where you get a lot more for a little less, and by Suburban Savings with offices throughout North Jersey. The preceding Mystery Theater program was furnished by the CBS Radio Network.
Got a second? I'd like to tell you about a new kind of radio program you're going to be hearing right here on this station. It's different because it's being done just like they used to do them back in the good old days of radio. In fact, we're going to play some of the great programs for you again. I'll be waiting to see you right here at 79 Wistful Vista. The name on the mailbox says F. McGee.
The good old days of radio coming your way this Monday night at 9 o'clock right here over WOR Radio, the talk of New York. Be sure to tune in.
I'm Fulton Lewis in the Mutual Broadcasting System studios in Washington, D.C. Now, my commentary. The House Judiciary Committee opened its historic hearing of evidence on the possible impeachment of President Nixon today, and almost immediately it voted to receive the complex and controversial data in closed session. The committee met in public session for only 25 minutes before voting 31-6 to move into executive session, joined only by its staff and lawyers for President Nixon himself. Committee Chairman Peter Rodino, the New Jersey Democrat, promised that the 38-member committee would meet, in his words, our high constitutional responsibility in weighing a mass of evidence on whether the president was involved in the Watergate affair and its cover-up. The ranking Republican member of the committee, Representative Edward Hutchinson of Michigan, used the occasion to define his own view of an impeachable offense, which he said must be a violation of criminal law. That is a much stricter standard than other committee members have called for. It is also stricter than that reached in a brief prepared by the committee staff. That brief holds that serious misconduct, short of a criminal violation, can be impeachable if it subverts the constitution of government processes. In the meantime, Representative John Anderson, the chairman of the House Republican Conference Committee, said today that the country would probably benefit if President Nixon resigned. He predicted his impeachment if Mr. Nixon does not step aside voluntarily. The Illinois Republican gave his views to newsmen shortly after House Republican leader John Rhodes of Arizona said that the president, in Rhodes' words, ought to consider resignation as a possible option if erosion of public confidence bars him from effectively carrying out his duties. Anderson said that he and other Republican congressional leaders have considered going to the president and actually asking him to resign, but he said they have decided to wait until after a House vote on impeachment. Congressman Rhodes, when asked if the Republican leaders might personally press upon the president a suggestion that he quit, seemed to choose his words very carefully as he replied, "I know of no definite plans at this time." Vice President Gerald Ford said today that the Watergate issue has caused a loss of confidence in the federal government, which he said has reached crisis proportions. He added, "The time has come for persons in political life to face the truth and speak the truth. The time has come for persons in political life to avoid the pragmatic dodge which seeks to obscure the truth." Discussing the president's release of the edited transcripts of White House conversations, Ford said, "I believe those documents, painful as they may be, but I believe they will help establish the truth." Ford's schedule included 4 speeches in the state of Chicago and in downstate Illinois today. It's been more than a week now since the president played what one top White House aide termed his highest trump card in the continuing Watergate drama. He, of course, announced that he was responding to a House Judiciary Committee subpoena for 76 Watergate-related tapes of White House conversations by turning over to that panel and, of course, to the public 1,254 pages of edited transcripts of the tapes. Committee Chairman Rodino and Ranking Minority Member Hutchinson would be invited to the White House to hear the original tapes so they could verify the accuracy of the transcripts. As you recall, a tremendous nationwide fanfare accompanied the president's announcement, White House officials declaring that, in their words, the president has made available to the public and to the Judiciary Committee what he believes is the full Watergate story. With that, presidential attorney James St. Clair stated flatly that no further Watergate tapes would be handed over either to the Judiciary Committee or to Special Federal Prosecutor Leon Jaworski. In the meantime, White House Chief of Staff General Alexander Haig made it quite clear that neither he nor presumably any other current presidential aides would answer questions of any congressional investigating panels. Last week, Haig, following the specific orders of President Nixon, invoked executive privilege in declining to give information to the Senate Watergate Committee. To put the entire situation in its proper perspective, I think several aspects must be analyzed. First, why did the president decide to release the transcripts of the Watergate tapes? While it may have been legally proper to completely ignore a subpoena from the legislative branch of government, I think politics obviously decreed that the president had to make some response. His chief advisor suggested, and he agreed, that his own best defense would be a strong offense by releasing the transcripts not only to the House Judiciary Committee but to the entire nation. He would be kicking off a new public relations campaign, one that would be aimed at portraying the president as having nothing to hide, being completely candid about the facts in the Watergate case, and being almost completely cooperative with the congressional panel which is now investigating Watergate in connection with the possible impeachment of the president. Despite assertions of Nixon loyalists, those controversial transcripts do not prove the president's innocence. The important thing to remember, though, is that neither do they prove his guilt. The picture they paint is one of complete confusion, one that is, of course, open to widely varied interpretations, and that, in essence, is all the White House feels is necessary in order to at least temporarily, perhaps permanently, sidetrack the impeachment proceedings. Without further clear-cut evidence of any wrongdoing on Mr. Nixon's part, no fair jury, including the Congress, could possibly find him guilty. The tape transcripts, in and of themselves, do create reasonable doubt as to the president's guilt, and that, of course, is all that is necessary for acquittal under the American system of justice. In this respect, the decision to release the transcripts was probably a very wise decision. What do those transcripts reveal? Well, when read in their entirety, they do not substantiate the president's claim of May 22nd of 1973 that he had undertaken, in his words, an intensive effort of my own to get the facts and to get the facts out. Conversations covered by the transcript seem more like script writing sessions, a very careful coordination between the president and his chief advisors, Ehrlichman and Haldeman, regarding a plan of action regarding the Watergate case. There is nothing conclusive indicating that they were concocting some plan of action to protect administration insiders who might have been involved in the break-in of June 17, 1972 at the Democratic Party national headquarters. There is nothing conclusive indicating that they were trying to cover up the facts in the Watergate case. Admittedly, there are very, very strong suggestions along those lines, however, and perhaps that aspect of the transcripts has dismayed and disappointed some of the president's principal defenders to date, including Senate Republican leader Hugh Scott and House Republican leader John Rhodes. Even former Nixon troubleshooter, now a columnist, Clark Mullenhoff, was prompted to comment today, quote, "Throughout his administration, he has given the impression of thorough, systematic studies of facts and law, but when Nixon-edited transcripts were published, we find no systematic effort to discover all facts of the Watergate burglary of June 17th. Instead, we find crafty, dishonest efforts to learn what the United States Attorney's Office and the FBI might develop from sources that could not be controlled or coerced into a preconceived scenario. Mr. Nixon made no systematic effort to consult the criminal law experts or the constitutional law experts to determine what the president should do in carrying out his responsibility that the laws be faithfully executed. Instead, we find President Nixon fumbling with only a superficial understanding of the law of evidence and incredible insensitivity to the problems of obstruction of justice." Perhaps the most damaging of the transcripts involves an exchange of March 21st, 1973, after John Dean had told the president of Dean's possible involvement in the crime of obstruction of justice. The president speaks first, "Talking about your obstruction of justice, though, I don't see it." Dean replied, "Well, I have been a conduit for information on taking care of people out there who are guilty of crimes." The president, "Oh, you mean like the blackmailers?" Dean, "The blackmailers, right." The president, "Well, I wonder if that can't be. I wonder if that doesn't. Let me put it frankly, I wonder if that blackmail doesn't have to be continued. Let me put it this way. Let us suppose that you get the $1 million and you get the proper way to handle it. You could hold that side." Dean agreed. The president then asserted, "It would seem to me that that would be worthwhile." Dean commented, "Well, that's one problem." The president, "I know you have a problem here. You have the problem with convicted Watergate burglar E. Howard Hunt and his clemency." Dean, "That's right. And you are going to have a clemency problem with the others. They all are going to expect to be out of prison, and that may put you, Mr. President, in a position that is just untenable at some point. You know, the Watergate hearing's just over, Hunt now demanding clemency, or he's going to blow. And politically impossible for you to do it. You know, President, that's right." Dean at that point commented, "I'm not sure that you will ever be able to deliver on clemency. It may be just too hot." The president responded, "You can't do it politically until after the 1974 elections, that's for sure. Your point is that you couldn't even do it then." Dean commented, "That's right. It may further involve you in a way that should not be involved in this."